What's up, guys? How's it going? Got a draft stream here. A Thursday night hangout, and probably the best one that we ever have all year long. The NFL Draft 2026. Thomas, Anthony, what's up?
Nothing much. I'm excited. I don't know about you. Anthony joining us tonight as well. It's been Josh and I the past couple of years. Now we get the man himself, Anthony DeBona. And what a better, there probably isn't a better draft to have you on here, Anthony, because we don't know what's going to happen. We know Fernando Mendoza goes 1. We have some inklings as David Bailey at 2. After that, it's any man's guess. My goodness, there's going to be trades. There's going to be people moving up and down. People were saying this was going to be a down year in the NFL draft, and yet it feels like it's as exciting as ever.
Yeah, it's so funny though, because like it feels like that's said every year where it's like, oh, this is going to be a down year. The hype isn't there. There's not that many quarterbacks. There's not that many of this. And then as the draft gets closer and closer, now these guys are getting hyped up. All these trades are probably going to happen. So I actually like when there's not a lot of certainty, right? Because like you said, Mendoza's going first. After that, even the second pick, people are saying David Bailey. The odds are saying Arvell Reese. Who knows what's going to happen? We'll find out hopefully in a couple minutes, but I'm excited for it all.
Mentioned a couple of minutes. We're 12 minutes away from putting the Raiders on the clock, and we'll talk about players here, what the Philadelphia Eagles are going to do, Josh. Quickly, though, we have full scoreboard. We're going to have highlights. We got everything for you guys locked in. You'll know the picks here first before ESPN. We get them ahead of the ESPN broadcast because of TV delays, which is nice. And there's a lot going on
Some say
tonight,
we're magic.
Josh.
I don't know.
Some say we're magic, but it's not that hard to figure out who goes ahead of ESPN because they're a little bit delayed. But I'm pumped, Josh. I mean, listen, is there one big takeaway going into tonight for you that you're most excited about, other than the fact that we don't know what's going on?
I could go with the Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel story, but I won't because that's not really the biggest story here. But
big story.
That's a whole other interesting deal to begin with. I mean, to me, it's like the fact that this whole draft has been, as you guys were talking about a second ago, it's like, is it high-level prospects? Is it a weaker class? Whatever the case may be there. But we're hearing all these rumors of trades that are going to happen, whether it's draft picks, players in the draft, also players on other teams. We've got a Jonathan Grenard, a Brian Thomas Jr. We got multiple others. Who knows what George Pickens is doing? He signed his franchise tag, which is very interesting timing going ahead of the draft. And there's a tweet that came out from Ian Rappaport that said that the Cowboys and George Pickens had a cordial conversation, basically. I don't know how that's really justified as news anyway. So to me, I'm like, does that mean we're going to get a trade here? Is there something that's going to go down? I think that probably the biggest takeaway for me, though, like I say, is that there's just a whole lot of noise, and we get that every single year, but it feels like there's a little bit more, so it's just kind of question, like, how soon until the ball drops, so to speak, of like, oh, wow, there's a big trade, another one. Okay, how is this draft going to turn out? So we know about number 1. Like, that's not a surprise. Mendoza's going to go, and then we'll figure out kind of how this draft plays out.
Yeah, I'm excited. We're like 10 minutes away. Super chats are starting to rain in. If you do the super chat, you'll get your chat on the board. We'll answer the question. I think we should just go ahead and do the first one here. As Josh throws it up on the screen. Anthony Spur with a 5. Thoughts on the Giants having 2 top 10 picks? Anthony, there's a lot of questions here about what the Giants are going to do. Are you expecting them to go defense and receiver? I think a lot of people think it's Caleb Downs at 5. Jordan Tyson at 10, and yet it seems like Jordan Tyson every day this week has jumped up another couple of spots. Could he go number 5? I think the Giants go defense and then offense. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know what's going to happen with Jordan Tyson, right? It feels like there are people that are saying he can go as high as 5. Maybe somebody trades ahead of the Giants to get him because they're so high on him. Or there are still people saying he might go and last till 12 or 13 or whatever the case might be, right? So that's still kind of an unknown. In my opinion, the craziest thing the Giants could do is take Jeremiyah Love at 5. I think that would be a silly use of resources at that point. But, I mean, they did it with Saquon Barkley. We saw how that worked out. I feel like the obvious choice to me is whichever Ohio State defender falls to them, right? Whether it's Caleb Downs or Sonny Styles, I feel like you can't really go wrong with either one. I personally think Caleb Downs is the best player in the entire draft class, but that's a whole nother discussion. And then at 10, I feel like you just take whichever wide receiver or offensive lineman falls to you, right? It seems rather simple to me, but the Giants historically and Joe Shane have a way of kind of botching certain things. They've drafted well in recent years, and we'll see if they can keep that up with 2 picks in the top 10.
Let's go ahead and pull up the big board here, courtesy of ESPN. We'll see who the top players are in terms of their rankings. And you see it up on your screen right there. Arvell Reese is number 1. People will debate him. Fernando Mendoza, Jeremiyah Love there as well. Arvell Reese, to me, is a fascinating player in this draft because it feels like David Bailey is going to go second, the pass rusher from Texas Tech, because he's a proven commodity, right? Double-digit sack guy, it feels like the second he steps onto your football field. Whereas Arvell Reese, I mean, are you getting just a really good edge rusher, someone who can play off ball a little bit as well? Is it the next Micah Parsons? Anthony, in terms of Reese versus Bailey, is it as clear cut to you as it is to seemingly the New York Jets right now at number 2?
I honestly, I don't see it that way, right? Because it seemed like they're leaning towards Bailey. I know some people have Reese ahead of them, like you mentioned, the ESPN rankings, but they're not a team that's going to be competing anytime soon, right? I feel like Bailey seems like the more surefire answer, but even he, like his profile has questions. He's not the greatest run defender. He is a phenomenal pass rusher, but the production wasn't always there, right? He had a really good season last year. But with Arvell Reese, it seems like a team in the Jets position where they don't necessarily have to worry about a playoff window right now, right? I almost think like Arvell Reese taking the chance on him, it makes more sense. But at the same time, the GM and Aaron Glenn, are they under pressure to kind of win 6 or 7 games this year, or whatever the case might be? Can they afford to go have 3 wins or 4 wins again? Like, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Seems like a lot of people are saying Bailey. The betting markets are saying Reese. So I personally think Reese would be my pick in that situation. But it'll be interesting to see what they do.
Obviously, he's there at number 1 on our big board here. Jeremiyah Love at 4, and a bunch of other players as well. Francis Maui-Noah, the tackle, potentially going there inside the top 5. What happens at number 3, the Arizona Cardinals? Do they stay put it for Jeremiyah Love? Do they trade back so then go and move up to get the Ohio State edge rushers? It's going to be very interesting. And obviously, 1,500 people watching the stream as well. That'll obviously continue to climb. Be sure to go ahead and drop a like. We appreciate that. Comment down below. Oh, Josh, what are we, 6 minutes?
We are. We're about 5 or 6 minutes. We're getting hyped, as Thomas said. If you haven't already, drop a like for us. We have the math is not mathing quite accurately yet. We got about 1,500 views and about 250 likes. So drop a like for us. Make sure to hype it. Also, Philly, shout out to you. Sent 10 Philly special show memberships. Congratulations to individuals getting the membership there. And Cranky Cletus with a 10 bomb. There we go. It says, build through the trenches, Proctor or Vega, please. In Howie, I trust. Go Birds. Now, that's interesting because it's kind of different on those two takes. I feel like I could be wrong because we can see this in the comments here. But it seems like a lot of people, most people, would agree on Ioane. If we were to say Caden Proctor to the Eagles, that's where it feels like this whole thing goes very polarizing very quickly.
Well, I think it's Caden Proctor to the Eagles if they trade up, right? If you're sitting there at 23, we know a lot of tackles are going to go here in round 1. If you get the 5th best tackle at that point, then sure, it sounds fine at 23. But Anthony, if I'm Philadelphia or a Philadelphia Eagle fan, which we know we all are, and you give up future draft capital or even draft capital tomorrow night to go from 23 to 16 maybe, and then you take Caden Proctor, someone who, there was a very interesting quote we'll talk about whenever someone drafts him from Nick Saban, basically saying, little up and down, he's got the physical tools. I think a lot of Eagle fans would be upset if they trade up for Proctor, let alone sit there at 23 and take him.
Yeah, I'm actually on the other side of this argument. I think Caden Proctor's a really, really good player. And I think if anybody, the Eagles, given that they took the chance on Jordan Davis as another player that there were questions about his weight coming out of college, can he be motivated? And we saw it the first couple of years in Philadelphia, right? Like he wasn't always in the best shape when the offseason program started and OTA started. And now you saw the player that he ascended to in his 4th year, and now he earned a contract extension. So the Eagles have a great history of developing offensive linemen. I know Jeff Stoutland's no longer in the building, but I think Caden Proctor is a lot better of a player than most Eagles fans are giving him credit for. I think they see some of the so-so reps that he had where he didn't look the greatest, and maybe it was the weight. It seemed like as the season went on and he got in better shape, he played really well. It seemed like when he was under control, like 375 or less, he was showed up around 350 at the combine. That's when he played at his best, right? So I would expect the Eagles, if they did select him, to be able to keep that under control, use a guy like Jordan Davis. He talked about when he visited the team to Devin Jackson of the Philadelphia Inquirer that he saw Jahad Campbell, so he already has relationships inside the building that would help him kind of be comfortable and become a pro and get ready for the next level. So I think Caden Proctor's a hell of a lot better player that he may be getting credit for from Eagles fans. And even if he doesn't work out at offensive tackle, I feel like he's a player that you can comfortably slide into guard, where I don't think you could say that about a lot of these other offensive tackles that the Eagles could be considering.
Yeah, you mentioned weight there. You got it as high as 390 pounds, but at 350 at the NFL Combine, and that's where we need him to be if Philadelphia were to go ahead and take him. But long way to go until Philadelphia does that as the draft starts, 3 minutes away here, Josh, from at least putting the Raiders on the clock. And again, 8 minutes in between picks tonight versus 10. So tonight's going to go a lot faster than I think people realize. And everyone keeps saying there's going to be big trades happening at some point during the draft. We talk about George Pickens, Jonathan Grenard as well, potentially for Philadelphia tonight, tomorrow. Who knows? Is there somebody else? I think we're going to be pretty busy here as we get ready to put the Raiders on the clock. 2:43 away from 8 p.m.
Almost
Eastern
there.
time.
Almost. But of course, we'll get to these super chats really quickly as well. Shout out to Josh. Welcome to Let's Run It tier with a membership there as well. Jaime with a 5. Yo, what's up, y'all? If AJ does get traded to the Patriots, do the Eagles have a tampering case? And that kind of goes in line with this other super chat too, so I'll go ahead and share this one as well. Lunar Wolf with a 5 said, just saw more Vrabel picks on Twitter. Also, time for Howie to do Howie things.
Yeah, well, I'll just say, Mike Vrabel's had quite the week. Obviously, he deserves it based on everything that's coming out right now. But I would argue, and again, we got some Eagle gear around me. I think, Andy's got an Eagle hat on right now. We're all a little biased here. I think you could make the case, and the question really is what was he telling Dan Rossini to do, or vice versa from an NFL standpoint, right? All that obsession about A.J. Brown, is it coming from somewhere? Is there a goal in getting, the price to come down, create some chaos inside the Eagle locker room? Those are the questions you have to ask. Now, Roger Goodell was on ESPN about 30 minutes ago saying that this is a non-violating personal conduct matter. It's not going to be investigated by the NFL. But stuff keeps coming out every hour, right? I saw someone that's like, these pictures keep coming out like the Riddler slowly leaking one by one to go ahead and make this worse and worse and worse. And now Vrabel's going to go ahead and not be in the NFL draft on day 3. So, Anthony, I don't know about you. I think that they should at least take a look. And it wouldn't shock me if something just pops up out of nowhere, just like the Arizona Cardinal thing that happened with Jonathan Gannon a couple years back.
Yeah, it's so weird because it seems like the NFL is kind of trying to sweep this under the rug because they know how terrible the optics of it all are, right?
It's bad.
Because you have one of the biggest national reporters and a coach that was really just Super Bowl is now, it seems like they had a relationship, right? So it's a messy situation, and we'll see how it ends up being resolved. But I think the NFL has to look into it at some point, whether it's a public investigation or if some type of competition just comes out of nowhere and we see either the Patriots were fined or something like that, then that could be the case. But I can't see the NFL just completely ignoring it, despite what Roger Goodell said earlier today.
Yes, and
by the way,
Diana
Josh,
Rossini's
Diana Rossini
deleted her.
Go ahead. We're both going to say the same thing.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah,
She
deleted her Twitter account. So if you happen to be following
20 minutes ago,
many followers, the receipts cannot be found, except we know the internet's undefeated. All those screenshots, everything else already been taken. I've seen multiple people like, yeah, you couldn't get rid of that, but you could clearly see it, right? Like we were talking about this for so many times, like there's so much more to this, and yes, they're denying it, and then there's like, okay, what are they going to say, statements and all this other stuff. But when Mike Vrabel spoke the first time, you're like, that's not the exact same message that was shared with Diana Rossini. So it's a whole other story, a whole other argument. It'll take maybe a quick resolution. It feels like it'll be multiple weeks, but regardless, we got the Eagle draft going on. And shout out to Devin with a 5 here saying, love the tux, Ant-Man. Noticing the fit there. Shout out to you, sir. Let's get this draft going, boys. Go Birds.
Go Birds. There you go.
Thank you.
And Ethan,
I appreciate it. I had to get dressed up for the first night, so I appreciate that.
Always can't go wrong with a tux shirt. We'll just say that. Ethan with a 2. As always, the Publix fried chicken will give us what we need. It failed towards the end of the season, but I guess we try to see if it works on draft night. Does it help us get Kenyon Sadiq? Anthony had about 10,000 mock drafts, and one of those was trading way down to get Kenyon Sadiq. Possibly. Scott with a 2. Think we get lucky tonight. Tight end and Bates from Atlanta. Oh, there's an interesting trade thought consideration there.
Maybe the tight end comes from Atlanta. Maybe it's Kyle Pitts instead of Kenyon Sadiq. I've seen that rumor being floated around a lot. People are shopping him. The other rumor we should say before we're about to put the Raiders in the clock, we're waiting on the commissioner to walk out here and do that for us, and we'll be doing our whole lower third. Is going to be up to date and live. The ticker, everything looks fantastic. There was a report from ESPN's Jeremy Fowler about 25 minutes ago where he said there are 3 teams that are calling about potentially coming back into round 1. Philadelphia was mentioned as one of those. Arizona was another, and I think it was the Cleveland Browns. It was 2 teams that would be looking for a quarterback, and then Philadelphia. And you wonder, are the Eagles really going to take somebody at 23 and then come back into 31 with the Patriots, which would be hilarious, by the way, and take somebody else? I don't know. That one's going to be interesting. I just wonder who they would go for, right? It all depends on what they do with that first pick. But coming back into round 1 means they love somebody enough to pull that trigger.
Anthony,
my guess
I was going to say, you've done a million simulations, so I'm sure you have somebody on the radar there.
My guess would be based on like the recent trends that we've seen too with all the mock drafts. There are a lot of them that have Toledo safety Emmanuel McNeil Warren falling out of the first round. So my guess would be maybe they would kind of want to get ahead of everybody that could be needing a safety before he would potentially fall to 54 because in the second round, because I don't think that would happen. And then you're obviously getting a fifth round because of the first round pick, right? So a fifth year option on his rookie contract. So that would be huge because safety contracts are just going more and more, like they're just getting more and more expensive, right? And they're already going to have a bunch of young defensive players they're going to have to pay. So getting an Emmanuel McNeil-Warren on top of, say, if they get an offensive tackle or something like that at 23, that could give you two kind of foundational players at two positions that they've started to value a little bit more in recent years and have them under cost control for at least the next 5 years.
Wouldn't mind.
All right. Well, I wouldn't mind it
flexibility.
either. Wouldn't mind it. We'll see about safety. Go ahead,
Shout
Josh.
out quickly here as we're about to start the clock. You can see, obviously, it does say Vegas on the clock, but I haven't started the timer yet. So just in terms of what the tracker is going to look like for people out there. Shout out to Niche for the member for 25 months. Let's go. Says, if Howie pulls off his usual craziness, we may all need counseling. It wouldn't surprise me from Howie, but it depends on the level of craziness, I guess. Yeah, we might be working. If you're a Patriots fan, you probably do. Dylan with a 10. We've got a three-headed goat for the stream. Look at that. Heck yeah.
We
Little shout out
appreciate
for
that.
us. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you, Dylan.
Thank you.
Also, how
Thank
sad
you.
is it that Rossini spent like 2 years milking the AJ trade and other things, and now she won't even be the one to report the trade?
Yeah,
We've
well,
covered that already, but yes, it's
yep.
it's a thought. It's a thought, Dylan. Yes. Sean with the 10. I didn't see a comment there. We do appreciate the support. Also to Lunar Wolf with a 20 bomb. Bang. Started the 20 bomb.
Thank you, Lunar Wolf.
Also, thanks to you three for the videos, blogs, and you keep me sane for the birds. Go Birds. Also, hope we get another Iowa Hawkeye, too. Okay. Throw that one out there.
There you go. Couple of them in this draft.
Quite a few
We'll
of
see.
them. Yeah.
Yes, that's very true.
And last super chat here currently, it looks like, is Leroy with a 2. Shout out to Ant for being the best Eagles insider. Lots of love.
You're far too
100%.
kind, but I certainly appreciate it. Thank you.
Very true. Very true.
Best follow on Twitter X, at Debona NFL.
They have still not put the Raiders on the clock officially. They're doing the commissioner walks out with all the different Pittsburgh Steelers legends to get him not to boo him. But looks like they're about to go ahead. And, oh, no, they're bringing out Hines Ward right now. So we're still waiting a little bit here. Why don't we go ahead and take a look at the overall draft order as we get ready for the Raiders to get on the clock here. This will give us our best look at what to expect over the next probably 45 minutes as we go through the top 10. Obviously, Las Vegas and the Jets are going to be staying put. We have no real insight into the fact that the Jets would want to go ahead and trade out. Arizona's a question here. Do you stay put and take Jeremiyah Love? Do you take the best pass rusher available? Do you trade out? I know I saw a lot of reports saying, somebody like the Kansas City Chiefs might want to come up to number 3 overall. Keep an eye on them. Tennessee 4, the Giants there at 5. Cleveland reportedly wants to move back at 6. Washington at 7. And as we scroll on down here to get outside of the top 10, the Dallas Cowboys lurking as well, sitting there at number 12. And what are they going to do? I've seen reports of a wide receiver. Any team here, Anthony, in the top 15, you're really curious about. You're not really sure where they're going to go. I think a lot of people have ideas, but any team here that really jumps out at you as a team that you are very curious about what their plan is.
Yeah, I think I'd have to lean towards the Browns, right? Because it seems like all the whispers are that they're trying to trade back. Who would try and trade up with them? They're in kind of a weird spot at 6 where if the top 5 goes, depending on how most people think it's going to go, then 6 becomes like, oh, do they take an offensive tackle? Do they try to trade back if somebody's trying to jump ahead of New Orleans for a guy such as Reuben Bain or something like that, right? So, or maybe one of the wide receivers. So we'll see what Cleveland does. And the fact that they have another first-round pick, I think things could get interesting. And the Cardinals, another team that you mentioned, the reports say that they're trying to trade back. Are the Chiefs going to trade 9 and 29 to give the Cardinals that second first-round pick for a guy like Ty Simpson? Does we see that scenario could become alive? So to me, it seemed like the draft really starts at 3, and that's where things could get crazy with all these trades that are being reported or potentially in the works.
Well, the draft has officially started, not just at 3, but the Raiders have officially been put on the clock, Josh. We're not going to wait very long
Officially
here. We
play
know
that, I
it's going to
assume,
be,
because they're on the clock. So
I would say, yes.
It's kick it off
yes.
officially.
We'll see how long it takes for them to put the pick officially being in, but we'll track it all down below there on our lower third. 3 and 14, the Las Vegas Raiders, guys. We'll talk about Fernando Mendoza here in a second. To me, this feels like a football team. If they could just get the quarterback position right and then block up front well for the quarterback, are they going to win a playoff game this year? Are they going to make the playoff games this year? I don't know about that, but it feels like they are much closer than a lot of usual number 1 overall picks are because they have Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty and seemingly a front office that knows what they're doing right now, at least this year.
I
And
mean,
Go
hopefully.
ahead. I was gonna say they got Max Crosby back too.
Yeah.
They didn't want him back, but they got him
for
back.
For now.
Yeah, the trade that didn't have happen actually with the physical and everything else. I mean, hopefully. By the way, shout out to Matt with a 50 Philly Special Show memberships. That's 50 of those. Congratulations to you guys for getting those. It's all random, so it's not playing favorites, but congrats to those 50. And Lockie, I believe, with a 2 says Josh, Thomas, and Anthony. Epic. Let's go, fellas. We appreciate that. Appreciate all you guys. But yeah, I would say my frustration was certainly with my fantasy, one of my mini fantasy teams. One of them had Ash and JT on it, and it was not in a very good way. But I mean, it's like you can't go too much further down if you're the Raiders. So I would look at it optimistically there. Yes, you need to hit on your franchise quarterback, but it's like it's too obvious of a situation. Like if you're at 1 and you're like, well, you kind of like you have to take Fernando Mendoza. So that's just kind of a given. I don't know that they're going to turn things around anytime in the near future, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah, the biggest thing for them is just how difficult that division is, right? It's like, how do you get around those other teams that are there? You already feel like you're so far behind. So the fact that they're going to get their quarterback, they now have Mendoza locked in, assuming that's the pick, right? Feels like that's the only consensus kind of pick for this entire draft. So now that they have Mendoza locked in, they can go forward knowing they have their quarterback. They're not going to be looking and changing quarterbacks every year. Going to see an Aiden O'Connell situation for a couple of games again. So they'll be set at quarterback, but they have a couple weapons, as you mentioned, and Max Crosby's holding down the defense, but there's still a lot of pieces that they need to be put in place before this team could really push for that playoff hunt.
As usual, with the first overall pick, despite knowing it for the past 3.5 months, they're going to take their sweet time as we're under 5.5 minutes to go here, and we're getting some Fernando highlights. We'll have some highlights here in a second as well. I keep waiting to talk about Fernando Mendoza until they actually pick him. I really like the kid. I know that there's this debate on where would he have gone, last year in the NFL draft, right? How do you compare him to a Drake May? How do you compare him to some of these other young quarterbacks in the National Football League? I've seen people say he'd be the 5th quarterback taken in last year's draft. I tend to disagree. I think he's one of the most pro-ready NFL quarterbacks we've seen in a long time because of the system and scheme he in. And we'll talk about comps when we actually make the pick here, and he's a little small and this and that. But if you're Clint Kubiak, getting the guy to be your franchise leader for the next 10 years, I would be hard-pressed to find somebody recently that I would like way more than Fernando Mendoza. Maybe not more, because there are some pretty good quarterbacks to come out in the NFL draft, but I really like Fernando Mendoza, and I'm pumped to see what he can do in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, and I feel like.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Touch.
No, you're good.
It just seems like people see the off the field stuff, the interviews, and they're like, oh, he's a nerdy guy. He's not a real franchise quarterback. He's not going to be the one to lead a franchise. But on the field, I mean, and even off the field, like from a size perspective, almost 6'5", almost 240 pounds. He can make off-script plays. He could run the ball. He can use his legs, but he can also stand in the pocket and throw with the best of them, right? He's not a guy that's going to throw 80 yards down the field, but he can make pretty much every throw that you need on the football field. You're not going to have to worry about him off the field. He's going to be a leader. It seemed like everybody that played with him at Indiana loved him. All of the coaches loved him. And I feel like people are almost underrating this entire draft class as a whole because it's a down year. But I think Fernando Mendoza it would not surprise me if in a year or two he's considered a top 10, top 15 quarterback in the NFL.
There you go. Well, Josh has it on the screen. The pick is officially in. We're going to announce Fernando Mendoza here very, very quickly. We'll see how much longer until we actually get an official report here. But our first pick out of 32 in the 2026 NFL draft is coming up here very, very quickly. We have yet to go ahead and officially make the announcement. We're going to be ahead of people. We know the announcement is coming, but
yes,
any second we should have the Mendoza pick. So stay tuned.
We're awaiting
Stay tuned.
We got 7, remember, for 13 months, says Howie Ski Mask Roseman. That is the season for it. JDC with a 5 also says, yo, what is the one person you hope to see in the draft, guys? Go Birds. I'm assuming the one person
Sadiq.
For the Eagles.
Sadiq.
Yeah, it feels like you could go Sadiq or maybe, and this starts a whole other conversation, but like possibly if you're going with a Jordan Tyson. But it just depends on, a lot of other things, and AJ. So I think we have the pick. I do believe.
I think we are ready. All right, with the first pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, no surprise here, the Las Vegas Raiders select Fernando Mendoza, quarterback out of Indiana. It is officially official. We knew it was coming. And Anthony, you mentioned 6'5", 236, and a guy who a couple years back at Cal, you would never have expected to be the #1 overall draft pick, let alone the Heisman Trophy winner and the national championship winner as well. And yet here we are. I love him. I think he's fantastic. Anthony, I think you do too.
Yeah, and that's kind of a cool story too, because I mean, a 2-star rating coming out of high school, not the highest profile player in high school, but now he's turned his entire career around. At Indiana, they obviously won it all. He put on a show, like I mentioned. I love his ability to make plays both in the pocket and then outside of the pocket. We saw plenty of plays where he was able to take off, make plays with his legs, and he has the arm and the ability to make all the throws on the football field, and he's one hell of a leader too. So the Raiders, a team that's kind of starting from scratch, they have a couple pieces in place. Obviously, Brock Bowers on offense, Max Crosby on defense, but now they have that quarterback to lead them at the helm in Fernando Mendoza.
There we go. Got their pick. I mean, it's not a bad play. You know, we talked about the elements of, like, you know, what, he hadn't had a girlfriend for forever, and people like, you know, it's like, is he going to be a leader and all this? He's kind of nerdy and all. But if you're going to be in Vegas too, you know, like, maybe he could deal with kind of what's going to go on there, having that leadership ability. And if he does seem weird to some people, it's like you've got a guy in Tom Brady, and some may disagree with this, but you got a guy in Tom Brady who's trying to look after the organization and say, like, okay, this potentially is going to be our guy. Obviously, you draft him for that, but as we all expected, the Raiders making the obvious pick with Mendoza, and we're maybe one pick away from this draft getting very interesting. We'll see.
There you go. Well, the Jets are on the clock here. We'll can obviously flip to that on our lower scoreboard, as well as it'll show under 4.5 minutes, or a little bit. Let's call it 6.5 right now, but it's coming up pretty quick here for the New York Jets. We'll see if it's David Bailey. One more thing on Mendoza before we move on to the rest of the draft, like we're getting ready for here in a second. There's a lot of quarterbacks coming out of the NFL or come out of college football these days who aren't very good pre-snap. Diagnosing defenses is very difficult for them, right? That's like the first step your rookie season is just kind of figuring out where to go with the football. And teams have to kind of shrink playbooks and shrink the field to one side. I don't think you do that with Fernando Mendoza. I think him and Jeremiyah Love are the two offensive players that you could plug and play today and feel pretty good about them going out there and knowing what they would need to do if they played a football game, 3 days from now on Sunday or whenever you want to actually go ahead and throw him out there. And so I'm pumped. I'm excited to see what he can do. And now he goes to Las Vegas Raiders, and we'll see if the Raiders, what the rest of their draft is going to look like, because they could have had multiple first-rounders, and then the whole trade debacle kind of fell through. And so we'll see if they get another one by trading away Max Crosby later on in the night. Jets are on the clock right now. They have less than 5 minutes to go. I was seeing reports that they were going to wait until the very end just to make sure nobody wanted to give them an offer they could not refuse. But it sure seems like the New York going pass rusher here in going to be one of two, right? Arvell Reese, or is it David Bailey? I think most of us assume it's going to go ahead and be David Bailey.
We shall see.
Yeah, it feels like the argument's been between those two for months now, but who knows? Maybe things get crazy and they take a Jeremiyah Love and shock the world. Who knows? But it's we'll see. I think it seems like it seems pretty obvious, especially after they traded away Jermaine Johnson to the Titans, right? That they clearly have a void on the edge, and where need meets value, feels like the right move for the Jets to take one of those two players here.
4.5 minutes away. DKT,
right.
Shout out to you with the 20. Go Birds. Finally, the draft is here. It is here. Thank goodness. And we can talk about other things. Although Brock with the 5 says send pick 54 and another round of Rossini Vrabel photos of the Patriots for pick 31. Just a little blackmail, a little subtle jab on that one. Sean with a 20. Also, at Ant always has the best hats. Where can I get this Philly Eagles hat?
That would be reference code limited, or referencecode.limited.com. Use code Philly Special for 15% off. They got a ton of good hats on there, all different kinds of teams, but we lean towards the Eagles. But for any other NFL fans looking out there, ton of cool hats on their website. So just Google reference code limited and their whole selection will come up.
There you go. All right, pick is in for the New York Jets. We don't know who it is yet, but we can go ahead and switch that and throw the Cardinals on the clock here. And so the pick is in, and we are just making sure we know who it is yet. We don't know who it is at this moment, although I think we kind of have a pretty good idea about where we're going with this one. Anyone else? Have we seen the Jets pick yet, guys? I have not seen it. I don't think we know who it is yet.
I believe that it was just
we
reported.
have it now.
We do. Okay.
All right. We have it. Let me know when you're ready, Josh. You can play the sound.
Mm-hmm. Should be good to go.
With the second pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select David Bailey, pass rusher out of Texas Tech. As we expected, no surprises through 1 and 2. And the 6'4", 251-pound senior out of Lubbock, who I'd say looks a lot like Hassan Reddick, maybe a little bit bigger, is going to the Jets, Anthony. This, to me, is the most ready pass rusher in the entire draft.
Yeah, David Bailey is pretty clean as far as from a prospect standpoint, especially comparing him to Arvell Reese, where there was a little bit of an estimation. Can he be a pass rusher? Can he not be? David Bailey is a pass rusher, and he's going to be a very effective one from day one in the NFL. He checks all the benchmarks that you would like to see in an edge rusher with his size. It's almost 6'4", 251 pounds, almost 34-inch arms. Phenomenal athlete with a relative athletic score of 9.66. So checks all the boxes. The production was there in college. 14.5 sacks last year with almost 20 tackles for loss. So there's really no guessing here. There's no projection as there would have been with an Arvell Reese. And the Jets are in a position where they're not necessarily going to be winning a ton of games this year, but they're going with the sure thing in David Bailey, and he's going to help their pass rush and their defense right away from day one in New York.
I like it. I don't think they botched it as they could have, right? Because we say, will they draft, let's say, Jeremiyah Love? Not that Jeremiyah Love is not insane and very talented, but it's always interesting because you get the various takes, right, from like individual draft experts, analysts, all this other stuff. Dane Brugler had him ranked as his 7th highest prospect. He actually had Arvell Reese as his number 1.
Wow.
So just based on Dane Brugler's there, would have potentially gone with an Arvell Reese. Again, time will tell the story. Who knows? But I mean, I agree. I think personally, that's the pick that they needed to make. Should have gone the direction. Don't confuse things. Make things just more difficult than they need to be. Having said that, it's still the Jets.
Well, let's just clarify with edge rushers here, because it's Bailey versus Arvell Reese, right? The difference here is the projection. This feels like Trayvon Walker and Aiden Hutchinson a couple of years back, right? Hutchinson was the guy who had production at Michigan. Trayvon Walker was the guy who could project out and potentially become a superstar in the National Football League. Now, both have been good, but the surefire one was Hutchinson, and so far Hutchinson has been much better than Trayvon Walker and worth way more than Trayvon Walker. And I think if you're the Jets here at number 2, you're trying not to repeat the mistake made by the Jacksonville Jaguars and projecting Arvell Reese, hoping eventually he's going to become Micah Parsons, because that's the comparison right there. And you just go in and get the best pure edge rusher in the entire NFL for a defense that didn't get after the quarterback a lot this last year. My only question is, they've drafted some good defensive players, guys, the past couple of years. They're just no longer on the team. Quinnen Williams is gone. Sauce Gardner is now gone. Jermaine Johnson, Anthony mentioned, is now gone. Can they keep him long enough, or I should say, can they rebuild around him fast enough to keep him in the long term? That's the real question for the New York Jets.
Well, and the question that I was going to throw out there is, will this help the Jets have an interception next year, their defense? Can they finally break that streak? Will it actually happen this upcoming season? Because they obviously had the dubious one of no interceptions in an entire... That seems just... It's one of the most ridiculous stats ever. And every time that I think about that or bring it back up, it's like, how is that possible? A ball should have just been tipped and like some random interception, yet they couldn't have gotten one. So surely it'll help them in a way. Jacob with a 5 real quick says, I hope we beat the brakes off the NFC East and our opponents so bad this year, we send them all into the improvement cycle. Hopefully so.
There you go.
Lots of draft picks, lots of draft capital here, but we're all for that. One break higher also with a 5. Do you guys think the Eagles will do a massive trade during this draft? I keep seeing people saying how we might trade draft capital for Myles Garrett.
That's a big... I thought we were talking about trading for Caden Proctor.
That's
here.
Massive
right? You're
trade,
talking about Myles
yes.
Garrett right now. Holy cow. There will be a big trade that happens on night 1. I feel very confident there will be a trade for a player at some point tonight. I think it'll be Myles Garrett. I mean, maybe not. George Pickens seems to be the big name that's kind of floating around right now. Brian Thomas Jr. out there as well. I thought we were talking more about trade up here, which if there are going to be some trade ups, you wonder if right now number 3 with the Cardinals is potentially this range, Anthony. We were under 3 minutes to go here, under 4 to go. Are the Cardinals waiting as long as possible to see if they get an offer they can't refuse before taking pass rusher, running back? This is the most interesting part of the draft that starts right now.
Yeah, and it's felt like a point where teams were just going to try and trade up, right? But at the same time, the reports were, maybe the Cardinals are just going to take Jeremiyah Love because he's the best player on their board, despite just signing Tyson Algier and still having James Conner around and being a real rebuilding team where they could really just take anybody. It seems like Arvell Reese would be the top player on their board at this point, but who knows what they're going to do if they don't find somebody to trade for this pick. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all shakes out. And as far as the Eagles go, a potential trade up to as high as 6 was projected by Benjamin Albright.
I saw
the
that.
Broncos, but he throws out some interesting rumors there at times and hits on quite a few of them. So that kind of caught my eye. But another receiver that Jordan Schultz reported was Texans receiver Nico Collins. Apparently teams called and checked about him. So it seems like if there is going to be a big trade, whether it's the Eagles or somebody else, it seems like the wide receivers are the players to watch for.
Probably not a receiver here, obviously, but coming up soon, Anthony. I think receivers are happening a lot sooner than people are going to believe inside this top 10. Under 2:45 to go. We still do not have the pick being in for the Arizona Cardinals yet. As you can see, their draft picks below us right now, 334, 65, 104, and a couple of later rounders. Cardinals pick is in. When we know when we have it, I don't see it yet, so they are not trading out. There's our first domino really to fall here. They are not going to trade out of number 3. They are going to make a selection. Looks like we have the pick, and we do. Let me know when we're ready. We'll listen for the chime, and we'll go ahead and read it off. This is an interesting one.
It is. It is very interesting. Let's see here. Helps to spell a guy's name right.
There you go. Yep, it's got an interesting spelling. That might give it away a little bit here. The Cardinal pick, though, is officially in. With the third pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Jeremiyah Love, running back out of Notre Dame. And I don't know if this is a shocker. We've seen this being rumored the past couple of days, but if you're the Arizona Cardinals, are you going to pair him with a quarterback? I don't know. But one thing I do know, Anthony, is that Jeremiyah Love is widely considered the best overall player in this draft. The most pro-ready guy who can step in day one and give you that Zeke Elliott rookie year magic. He's big, he's physical, he's fast. You see the highlights, he's elusive. This is one of the most exciting running back prospects, I think, since Zeke and Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, he's a total complete running back, right? And he's probably going to be an immediate impact player in Arizona, and he could literally do it all. His size, he checks all the boxes there. 6 foot tall, 212 pounds, 32-inch arms, ran a 4.3 in the 40 at the combine. When he's really such a good prospect, he didn't necessarily have to run at the combine, but it seemed like he wanted to make a point, and it clearly caught Arizona's eye because despite having a ton of needs all over that roster and not necessarily being a team that's ready to compete, this kind of seems like when the Falcons took Bijan Robinson, right? Like most teams will wait until they fill all the other major positions and then find that running back, whereas the Cardinals are saying, listen, get Jeremiyah Love in the building. We'll figure out how to build around him because he's going to be a damn good offensive player for a long time.
That he shall. And, if you're figuring for one NFC scout was saying that for teams that struggle to keep drives alive, this is your guy to help make that happen. And, you think about the Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett situation going on there. They could use all the help they could possibly get. So I like the pick. I did also see there were a couple comps. And these are always fun, because it's like, okay, who's people saying like this is going to be the next so-and-so and everything else and how it plays out. But Jahmyr Gibbs was actually multiple draft analysts who had brought up Jahmyr Gibbs as kind of the comp there. So it's kind of interesting.
I saw Alvin Kamara. I thought Alvin Kamara because he's so good out of the backfield, right? And that's something also when you want to move the sticks for the Arizona Cardinals is your running back getting involved. Will they keep Marvin Harrison Jr. tonight? Will they draft a quarterback tonight? Could they trade for Tanner McKee tonight? I mean, that's another option there. They need a quarterback. Pair with Jeremiyah Love, Anthony, would be very interesting. I could see the Cardinals coming back into the end of round 1 and taking Ty Simpson.
Yeah, I feel like that's always been what I've kept my eye on and what most reporters have said in recent days, especially where everybody's saying that Ty Simpson is going to be a first-round pick. So it's like, okay, so which team is it going to be, right? There were reports that the Rams were interested, like Les Snead spoke to Ty Simpson's parents when he was talking about should he go into the draft or not, and Les Snead, a report came out, I think an hour or two ago, that he was one of the guys that said, I think he's going to be a first-round pick, or I think he's going to be drafted pretty high. So now all of a sudden it's like, wait, Stafford's not getting any younger. Would they be the team to take a chance on Ty Simpson at 13 or maybe even trade up? And we'll see. There's going to be the teams that trade up into the 20s or the 30s that are going to want that extra 50-year option on their contract. And we see it every year. Some team tries to jump back into the first round, and things will get interesting because there are plenty of teams with 2 first-round picks that are probably willing to trade back.
Could get fun. Korma with a 5. By the way, shout out for that. I know it's early, but our entire draft class from last year not looking too hot so far. Go Birds.
It's a little early.
Shade towards Jahad Campbell. I mean, I
think so.
I understand
Andrew
that Kobe Dean took his. That's true, yes, and definitely for Drew. Makuba got hurt, and Jahad was playing fairly decent. It's just that Nakobe was pretty insane to be able to come back from that and perform at the level that he did. So, overall, I get it. Like, look, if you compare it to Cooper DeJean, Quinyon Mitchell, fine, right? Like that pushed you over the top, helped win the Super Bowl, everything there. But I don't know. I want to try to pump the brakes a little bit from a 1 year and go, oh my gosh, they're just not going to do anything. Take a little bit of time. I do get it. Also how he wasn't able to draft his top 30 visits and his as athletic of players as he had previously, which Anthony did multiple articles and reporting on before the draft here. So if we get more of that, kind of go back to the norm, teams not jumping the Eagles or taking some of their top picks, then maybe it turns out better if last year's draft class ends up not being so great.
Give him time.
It's kind of also hard to follow up the act, like you mentioned, of Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Jalen Hunt, like three guys that all had a pretty good impact on a Super Bowl winning season their first year, right? So it would have been a tough act to follow no matter what. And people forget Jahad Campbell was looking like the defensive rookie of the year, or at least in the running for that, before he eventually got benched for Nakobe Dean, which just spoke to the depth that they had at the position, right? So I wouldn't judge a draft class after just one season.
That's a good point. Shout out really quickly to Darth Panda. My bad, I missed this one, but Proctor is the last person I want Howie to draft. And he's not alone. There's been multiple people that have thrown that one out there. But yes, in the same camp. I got you, though. Appreciate that.
Titans pick is officially in. They did not wait very long. They also have not traded back. That was another question here. I'm wondering if they're going to go get Robert Saleh, a defensive player here. And I think there are three that make a lot of sense, and a lot of them come from Ohio State. We'll see what happens as Tennessee's pick is in. That puts the New York Football Giants on the clock officially. We'll see what the Titans are going to do here in just 1 second. First three, though, are off the board. Fernando Mendoza. Do we have the pick? Oh my goodness. It is okay, we have our first surprise. We are ready. If that's correct, let's do it. That is a big surprise here. Okay. Let me know. We have our first surprise of the evening here at number 4 for the Tennessee Titans. As we almost have it ready. This is going to be an interesting one here. Okay, yeah, I just confirmed it as well. So the Titans have made their selection at number 4. With the 4th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Carnell Tate, wide receiver from The Ohio State University. Anthony, I thought we'd get an Ohio State player here. Not Carnell Tate. He was number 13 overall on ESPN's big board. He goes number 4 overall. 6'2", 191 pounds. I think 3 months ago, he was the consensus number 1 wide receiver in this draft. I thought Jordan Tyson was going to jump him by this point, and yet not the case. Carnell Tate is the first offensive weapon off the board not named Jeremiyah Love.
Yeah, it felt like Carnell Tate overall just became a victim of like paralysis by analysis as the pre-draft process went on, right? Because as you mentioned, he felt like the consensus wide receiver 1 for so long. Then we saw the recent workout from Jordan Tyson, and now he was gaining a bit more hype. It reminded me of the Ted McMillan kind of situation last year where people were just overcomplicating, overthinking things. I actually really think this is a good move for the Titans because it felt like with Robert Saleh taking over that they were going to go with a defensive player, right? And it felt like Arvell, Reese, or Sonny Styles falling to them, or even a Caleb Downs, that could have been the way they were going with one of those Ohio State players. But now Carnell Tate, they invested in Cam Ward last year. Brian Daboll's getting all these weapons to work with. They signed Wendell Robinson in free agency. So now you bring in Tate to be your wide receiver 1, and all of a sudden Cam Ward went from basically having no weapons to work with to now he's got a couple shiny toys to work with in 2026 and beyond.
That he does.
That's a shocker.
I think it's a big reach. I don't love it necessarily. It wouldn't surprise me if Tate's has a solid career, I guess, but like it's not the end all be all. But I'm with you, Thomas, saying like, okay, it's further down the board, understandable. There's other players that you could have gotten. Maybe they were trying to trade out of it or whatever. But either way, it's like the production is there, but to me, he's not really the frame for a top wideout. Athleticism scores were not great. Is a 4.5. I know that you kind of go back and forth too. Some people saying, oh, he's kind of Chris Olave comps. But just looking at the board, I'm kind of with it. It's like it's definitely my least favorite pick so far out of what we've seen. Granted, we're only a couple picks into it, but maybe he proves it wrong. I just, as of right now, kind of not thinking necessarily that type of guy. But we'll see.
Well, and let's just be clear. This is a good pick just to get a weapon for Cam Ward, right? But you drafted Cam Ward number 1 overall last year. Yeah. Making sure you have weapons on the outside is fine. I think the question here, though, is he that much better than a Jordan Tyson? We'll see how high up Jordan Tyson is going to go. And then Mekhi Lemon. I think a lot of people are very high on Lemon, even though he might go at 10, 11, 12, 13. Is Carnell Tate 10 picks better if Lemon goes at 14? That's going to be the real question here. And what is a very deep wide receiver draft, Anthony, but I don't think it's a very top-heavy wide receiver draft in the fact that there's a superstar guaranteed at the top like Jeremiah Smith will be at this time next year.
Yeah, but I still think Tate was the better player than those other two that you mentioned. I think because with Jordan Tyson, yeah, the ceiling is so high, but that injury history probably scared a ton of teams off, and we'll see how far he falls here. I don't think it'll be much further, but and then with Mekhi Lemon, there are questions about like how he interacted with teams and the media at the combine. Like he came off a little bit weird. He said he learned from that. I don't think he'll fall out of the teens either. I think we'll see those three wide receivers go in the top 15, top 13 or so. But at the same time, Tate felt like the consensus wide receiver one all along, and as the process gets closer, we just kind of get a little bit psyched out by reports and things like that. And clearly the Titans weren't thrown off that path.
The Giants pick
That's
is
fair.
officially in here. This makes things very interesting now because A, we've had no trades, but B, some of these star defensive players like a Caleb Downs and an Arvell Reese who people thought would be gone by now, I think. At least one of them would be gone. And we now know who it is. We have the Giants pick, so let me know when you're ready for that one. But it seems like some defensive players are falling. The tackles are falling here as well. If you're looking at either one of these and you want to start moving up, Cleveland at 6 after this Giants pick could be the answer. We'll go ahead and jump to the official Giants pick here with the number 5 overall draft pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. New York Giants select Arvell Reese, edge rusher, outside linebacker, whatever you want to call him, out of the Ohio State. And his fall stops at 5, Anthony. Is he Micah Parsons or is he not? That's the question, I think, on everybody's mind. If you're the New York Football Giants, you have a very good pass-rushing defensive line. You might trade Kayvon Thibodeau in a couple of minutes. We'll see. Reese, though, he's too good of a ceiling to pass up on was my take. I would have taken Bailey over him. I'm surprised he fell all the way to 5, though.
Yeah, this is a kind of a crazy situation for the Giants now, because if you look at their roster, they have Brian Burns, who was one of the top sack artists in the league last year. They drafted Abdul Carter early. They picked up the 5th-year option for Kayvon Thibodeau. So now what are they going to do with Arvell Reese? Are they going to trade Thibodeau? And that could be a possible target for the Eagles, but that's another thing. But now Arvell Reese joins the mix. Could he be a linebacker that is used on the edge at times, kind of like a Zach Vaughn? Or do they think he's going to be a full-time edge rusher? And we'll see what happens, and they'll just have 3 or 4 guys that can rush the passer out there at the same time. It felt like the value was just too good at this point for them to pass on Arvell Reese, but if Jordan Tyson doesn't make it to them at 10, or if an offensive lineman doesn't make it to them at 10, now things kind of get interesting.
Let's keep an eye on a trade here. I'm seeing there's a potential. The Browns and Chiefs are deep in trade talks for KC to come up to 6 from 9. Rappaport tweeted that 1 minute ago. It's not official, though, but we have a potential trade of the first of the evening, and the Browns, though, still currently sit on the clock right now. And so this could be a chance for KC to go up, and then it'll be interesting, right? Does Kansas City go defense? Do they need a cornerback? Do they go wide receiver? They've been linked to Jordan Tyson. Do they go ahead and get an offensive lineman to go ahead and protect Patrick Mahomes? The trade's official. We don't know exactly what it is. We know that 9 and 6 are involved, though, Josh. We'll get that on the screen. But yes, Kansas City has traded up here, and they are now on the clock. And that means Cleveland goes back 3 spots.
If I had to throw a name out there, I would keep my eye on Ruben Bain. It seems like they've been looking for an edge rusher. That was the potential target in a trade up for 3, it seemed like, or maybe if it was Arvell Reese there. But I think Ruben Bain, like getting ahead of the Saints, who could be looking at an edge rusher as well. I think Bain is the name to watch here, but with a Sonny Styles still there, he's another really good defensive player. I mean, Caleb Downs, one of the offensive linemen that's still out there. So they'll have their choice of whoever they want now after jumping up to the Browns. And that's why I said before we started that the Browns are the team to watch for, right? Because they have those 2 first-round picks, and now they're moving back.
We'll see what they give up. Obviously, Anthony just mentioned was 29 overall as well, was their second first-round draft pick. We don't know the exact compensation. We do know we're swapping the Browns for the Chiefs. That's clear. We don't know exactly what they have given up, but we'll wait to see if they have a pick yet. We do not have an official pick yet here, but we have our first trade, as it looks like it will be Kansas City. It is 6 for 9. 74 and 141 is the official trade, and we'll have that here on the screen. Anthony got it for us as well. So they're giving up
141 from 141. Kansas City's 141, or is it 140?
There are actually 2 different reports coming out right now. Sorry about that.
148.
There's people saying 148, and there's people saying 141.
I'm not seeing 141 in their selection, so I'm going to assume it's 148.
Okay.
Then that's what it is.
Yep. Okay.
So it's those 3 picks. So it's what is that? A third, and then whatever 141 is. So they keep their second first rounder. This is a pretty cheap trade.
Yeah, 3rd and 5th.
Okay, and we have the pick. So let me know we have the trade, and then we also have the pick. So there you got Kansas City officially on the clock. Stuff's happening a lot faster this year with only 8 minutes versus 10. This is way faster, even though it's only 2 minutes being shaved off. There is the official trade compensation. So Kansas City gives up 970. I got to look at here. It's 74 and 148 to go up to number 6 overall. They keep their second first-round draft pick for later on in the evening, and we do have the pick. So when you're ready, we can officially get the pick on the board. As there it is, the pick is in, and I think we are ready. Yes, we are. Okay. With the 6th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Mansour Delane, cornerback out of LSU. This is, it's not a great cornerback draft. Let's just say it. Behind Delane, it's a little interesting how many more will go in round 1. But there was one true top 10 cornerback in this draft. It is Delane. And the funny thing is, he's very similar to a person they just traded away in Trent McDuffie, Anthony. That was my comp coming into this NFL draft. He's great in man. He can play zone as well. Spagnuolo gets a cornerback for a defense that desperately needed one here in 2026.
Yeah, and that's immediately what I thought of as well once I saw that the Chiefs were taking him. It's just the size were kind of the question about Delane, right? He's 5'11", which seems good. 5'11", 3/4, almost 6 foot tall, but 187 pounds. That's 27th percentile at corner. 8 and 7/8 inch hands, that's 26th percentile at corner. 30-inch arms, that's 13th percentile, right? So a lot of questions as far from a size standpoint, but he was elite on the field as far as his production goes. Allowed a 26.7 passer rating last year, according to True Media. Just phenomenal player in coverage. He has great ball skills, had a ton of pass breakups, had 2 interceptions, and was really regarded as one of the best corners, if not the best corner in the entire country. So the Chiefs, after getting rid of Trent McDuffie and moving on and not wanting to pay him, they now kind of set the clock back at cornerback, and they have their guy in Delane.
There we go. It's interesting, too. Lance Zierlein had Quinyon Mitchell as the comp player, the player.
Interesting.
Good in press coverage was what his takeaway was. But I'm right there with you guys. As far as the trade, and once it happened with the Rams, it's like they had to get their guy. And speaking of, I've got the trade up there. There's a little bit of delay for those that are wondering why it was. Basically, I can't put the trade up there until we know official. So we knew the trade was taking place. I just can't actually insert it into the draft tracker until we have that. So,
okay.
Kansas City gets their corner.
There you go. Which, by the way, I don't know about y'all's ESPN broadcast. They're just showing Arvell Reese being taken by the Giants. So they don't even have the Kansas City trade up yet on my broadcast. I don't know if I'm behind you guys or if we're just that far ahead. But we are up to date, rocking and rolling with the Washington Commanders officially on the clock here. I have no clue what the Washington Commanders are going to do, to be completely candid with you guys. This, to me, is an absolute question mark on, do they go get a receiver? Do they go get, Caleb Downs? Do they get an offensive lineman? Are we surprised yet that no offensive lineman is gone when a lot of people thought Francis Mauigoa, for example, would be gone at this point?
Yeah, it felt like they would have been gone by now, right? Because you would have thought the Giants or the Browns, if they stayed there, that would have been the pick, right? But now we're just seeing a run on defensive players because Delane wasn't really projected to go that high, and Cardinal Tate wasn't always projected to go that high, right? So all it takes is just a couple curveballs to throw everything off, and now maybe a guy that you weren't expecting to fall to a team like the Eagles is now in range, or another to a team like the Rams. So we'll see what happens here with Washington, because they're probably thinking, hey, we didn't think that either of these guys in Sonny Styles or Von that was going to be there, right? So now they have some options. Wide receiver is probably still their biggest need. So do they go for a Jordan Tyson? It depends on how they view the medicals. Do they take a chance on a Reuben Bain? So they're going to have options. Caleb Downs is still out there. Like I mentioned earlier, I think he's the best player in the class, but they probably weren't thinking that Sonny Styles was still going to be there for them at 7.
I was going to say, so you have Sonny Styles and Caleb Downs both falling right now, which is a big surprise. Making sure I got my, edge rusher, Reuben Bain, another possibility for the Washington Commanders, go after the quarterback here. They could use a tackle. It's fascinating. You see your best available, and obviously this right here is going to be where we've gone so far. Mendoza, Bailey, Love. Interesting on Jeremiyah Love. He gets a $50 million fully guaranteed contract being a top 5 pick. It's a lot for a running back. That's a lot for a running back.
Yep.
It'd be very interesting. Very interesting.
Did we get another trade?
Did we? No.
Not that I'm saying.
Okay.
They're showing the Chiefs moving up on the ESPN broadcast, but we, of course, covered that when it happened 5 minutes ago. So we're just ahead.
I was just making sure somebody was commenting, and it may be late in the comment section, but someone's like, oh, another trade. Okay.
No, I'm
not seeing one.
No, I don't see
Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Okay. False alarm. My bad. The best available has somehow not worked with the.
Are you still there?
Do have ESPN that we can pull up there. So
okay, there we go.
Just
so
for
here's
those
your
that are
current
curious.
best available.
Yes. You've got
Maui Noah there, Caleb
Yep.
Downs, Sonny Styles. Obviously, this one hasn't updated for Delane yet. Ruben Bain, how far is he going to fall? I think if you're Philadelphia, and again, we're doing a draft for everybody here, but I think if you're the Philadelphia Eagles, this has gone pretty good. If you're looking at, how far does Kenyon Sadiq fall? How far does Jordan Tyson fall? How far do all these tackles fall as well? So far, the fact that we're at number 7 and they're all still on the board, it's a long way to 23, but if you want to trade up, there's certainly players that are available.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all shakes out because Howie Roseman does not. He's traded up in basically 4, I believe, of the last 5 drafts. So he hasn't made a massive jumps up. Even when he did the move for Devontae Smith, it was kind of in 2 separate trades. So we'll see how high he's willing to go. But with some of these names that are falling, like Maui Noah or Spencer Fano, if they're looking for an offensive tackle, those guys now might fall into the teens where the Eagles may not have thought that was possible beforehand. But that's why before the draft, you go and you canvass the league and you say, if this happens, would you want to do this deal? Can we have this kind of setup where I could just call you when I'm on the clock or when you're on the clock and figure this out? So we'll see how it all unfolds here.
Okay. Well, we're still waiting. They have not even announced the Chiefs pick, by the way, on ESPN. So just FYI, it has not happened yet. What is this? Interesting. I mean, can we say that, Josh?
I'm waiting to get verification, but just
Can I just mention something here? I won't say who.
Yeah. A little bit. Just don't say who.
Okay.
Waiting to get confirmation if anything can be shared.
Okay, I'll wait for confirmation.
Yeah.
But, listen, we always say this. We don't have insiders, but people tell us stuff, and people are telling us stuff right now, which is interesting. So we'll see. To Washington. We have the Washington pick. Okay, we have the Washington pick. We can put the pick is in. Make sure I have it here as well. I do. Let me know. Yeah, okay, we have it. Okay, with the 7th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Washington Commanders select Sonny Styles, linebacker out of The Ohio State University, and his fall has stopped, Anthony, at 7. He's a fantastic middle linebacker. My goodness gracious. Talking about a guy who's a former safety, so he's incredible in coverage. One of the best cover linebackers going into the NFL right now as a rookie. But his just pre-play awareness is what really stood out to me. I saw an Isaiah Simmons. I saw someone compare him to young Brian Urlacher. That's how good this guy is. There are questions about whether or not you would want to maybe try and do the Micah Parsons conversion from linebacker. To me, he's too good at off-ball. Just play him at off-ball. He'll be great. He goes in a unit that's had Bobby Wagner the past couple of seasons, and he's been fantastic. Sonny Styles officially is a Washington Commander.
Yeah, it seemed like once he was there, I mentioned it, that I think that they didn't expect probably to Sonny Styles to fall in this range to them at 7, but like you mentioned, just a freak athlete, a freakish build at off-ball linebacker at 6'5", 244 pounds, 10-inch hands, almost 33-inch arms. He tested off the charts at the combine, a 9.99 relative athletic score. So athleticism is not a question, but on the field, he's a near flawless player as well, right? What he can do in coverage with his size, what he can do coming downhill as a blitzer. So we knocked the Commanders' defense for being so old and not really having any foundational players to build on. Sonny Styles will come in and be a game changer for that Washington defense from day one.
Seen some shades of Fred Warner, by the way. I mean, it's insane though. 6'5", 245, runs a 4.46 40. Like his 10-yard split. Anthony and I were texting this multiple times because we're like comparing other players and how they are and whatnot. His 10-yard split is like a 0.02 of a second slower than a Reed Blankenship and a Dylan Thieneman. So at that size, it's kind of unfair. I mean, 6'5", 245, you'd be able to get all over the field. I think that's a great selection there. They could have taken a lot of other people. They need to get younger and so many other things. But, you have to say that for an NFC East rival. But it's a good pick.
I was going to say, it's hard to, knock people inside the top 10. Everyone has their flaws, but we focus on the positive things here. He's not the best run defender. He's not a bad one. He's not the best, though. That would be the one area where I could go ahead and say Sonny Styles has some work to do. But you go into a unit that, like you said, is extremely old, then he's going to give him a lot of youth, a lot of speed, and he's fantastic in coverage, which is extremely undervalued, I would say, from a linebacker position. Something that us Eagle fans are really hoping, obviously, with Zach Bond and Jahad Campbell, take to the next level here in 2026. With that, we are at 8 already. And we have the 8th overall pick already as well. And so once we confirm that, I see it. We'll make sure you guys see it as well. But the Saints are on the clock, and they have made a selection extremely fast. So they are, I think, a little surprised this guy is still here. I think some of us are as well. He had a lot of pre-draft hype, but I am ready whenever you guys are, as well, for pick number 8. With the 8th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New Orleans Saints select Jordan Tyson, wide receiver, Arizona State. This guy had more pre-draft hype, I was going to say here, than anybody I had seen in the past 2 weeks. The Jordan Tyson rise from being a bottom of the first-round guy due to a bunch of injuries we can talk about to a top 10 draft pick needs to be studied. He didn't work out for any team, Anthony, really in front of anybody, Combine, Pro Day, until this past Friday, and he looked pretty darn good. Hamstring questions going into this season. Basically didn't play the couple of games there at Arizona State. Jordan Tyson, though, this is a very high ceiling, high risk, high reward pick here for Tyler Shuck and that Saints offense.
Yeah, I felt like once the last year they found their guy in Tyler Shuck at quarterback. You still have Chris Olave there. You needed somebody younger. That wide receiver, a lot of people thought it was going to be Cardinal Tate. They thought he was going to fall to 8, but he obviously went earlier to the Titans. Now they pivot to Jordan Tyson, who some people think has a much higher ceiling than a Cardinal Tate. But the Saints are in a position where they can kind of take that risk, and he has the questionable injury history, but at the same time, like you mentioned, that workout that he had, I believe on April 17th, he caught a lot of attention for that. It looked like he was floating in the air, and you see it in these highlights that are showing on the screen right now. He's an unbelievable wide receiver, and once again, a player that I think people were overthinking, right? Because they were like, the injury history, he's not working out, the hamstring, what's going on there? But it's not worth overthinking it, especially for a team like the Saints that needed help at wide receiver. Jordan Tyson is going to be a game changer and immediately impact their offense and help it take it to the next level. And an NFC South that is kind of wide open when you really zoom out and think about it.
That it is. And Cleveland is on the clock in the meantime. It's funny, though, you mentioned the Jordan Tyson, the workouts and everything, and it's like the up and down, just the extremes of the NFL draft season, and like how you're like, oh, this prospect's going to be top 10 for sure. And then there's a moment where it's like, he's not even going to be the top 20. Matt Miller, ESPN, he was saying he didn't think he'd be even anywhere in the top 20. I think Brett Coleman did a mock draft that had the Eagles being able to get Jordan Tyson at 23. So some people were actually buying into that hype of the injury concerns and thinking, oh, he's just going to slide down further. But then you also had other like scouts, and I think it was maybe the Giants report, some other reporter that was saying like shades of Odell Beckham Jr. There's some Justin Jefferson comps. There's some Terry McLaurin comps. Like every player that's been thrown out there's like, hold on. Like he's got some insane talent, but like he's got to live up to it there. But yes, as we've said, he's got all the tools in his body, as Howie Roseman would refer to it as. And, makes a lot of sense. Get in a Kellen Moore offensive system. Should be able to do well if he gets stay healthy.
It's always funny to see like the comparisons for draft season, right? Because sometimes you see people just take it to another level where like, oh yeah, he's a blend of Randy Moss and Terrell Owens. It's like, wait, hold up. Let's reel it in a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's calm down. Because there were other people that were saying like a more reasonable comparison is like, oh, an Amari Cooper, right? So like that I can kind of get on board with. And
there you go.
Sense. But
okay.
Just jumping to like these outlandish, like, oh yeah, he's the next Justin Jefferson. Like, can he be? Sure. But let's temper our expectations just a little bit.
Well, and with the expectations, the injuries here are the big question, right? I mean, he's had concussion problems. He's had lower, ACL problems, hamstring issue going in here. He has not been able to stay healthy. You think back to that Arizona State playoff run a couple years back with Cam Scadaboo. He wasn't able to play in that game because of injuries. And so we'll see how healthy he can be. He joins Chris Olave, who also has a lot of injury problems. But if he can be healthy, there's a lot of potential there. But the Saints go with pick 8 and take a wide receiver. Let's take a look. Oh wait, do we have something here? Let me see.
We do not. No, that's just some extra knowledge for you guys. Unfortunately, it can't be shared. It's the beauty of having sources at times, and sometimes we can't say anything. But so that you guys know or are aware of where this thing's headed. I promise you, everybody else out there, I know you're gonna be like, Josh, come on, this is why. Like, I'm not gonna say anything that we should not be sharing. Things like that. It'll play out eventually. But I'm sorry, it's something that can't be shared, unfortunately.
There you go. All right, keeping an eye on our inside information. I think we still have the Browns on the clock right now. We don't have that pick yet. You want to show us best available right here, Josh, if you can? We have that ready to go?
Yep.
Because now we're starting to get into some of the other names to keep an eye on here as we get to the Cleveland Browns at number 9. Francis Mauigoa. I mean, do you want to protect Shedeur Sanders or Deshaun Watson or whoever it is? Caleb Downs still on the board there as well. Obviously, you see Styles and Delane, but that's because they are behind our broadcast. Where does Ruben Bain end up here? I don't expect the Browns to go and take an edge rusher. If they did, then get on Myles Garrett trade watch, I would say. Where do we put Monroe Freeling? I'm just curious what the Cleveland Browns are going to do
because
Freeling. He's not a fan.
I know that
okay.
one.
I feel like tackle. I feel like this should be Francis Mauigoa. Am I wrong on that, Anthony? It feels like the Browns should go tackle.
It feels like they probably traded back from 6, right, to 9, thinking that, listen, if one of Francis Mauigoa or Spencer Fano reaches us at 9, that'll be the pick, right? So now we're at 8 picks through. No offensive tackle has been selected. It feels like Mauigoa would make sense, but there are people that have Fano ahead of him. They're kind of 1A, 1B at offensive tackle. So in my eyes, you can't really go wrong with either one. The only thing is with Mauigoa, there was a report that he has like a back injury that's fine for now, but if it flares up, he could have to undergo surgery. So that's a whole question where one team can view his medical and think he's a flawless prospect and totally fine. Look at the Jahad Campbell situation last year with the Eagles, right? So many teams passed on him, but all it takes is that one team to not give a red flag and not like medically flag a player and take a chance on him. So my eyes would be on Mauigoa or Fano, and they really can't go wrong with either one here at 9.
Under 2 minutes for this pick, as we are still waiting to see what they're going to go ahead and do. I don't have it yet. We'll see whenever we officially get that number out there. But as we're getting a look at Sonny Styles on the ESPN broadcast, they have not announced the Saints pick, by the way. So shout out to the 6,500 people who are watching us and knowing what's happening here first, which is absolutely fantastic. We appreciate you guys. We have the pick. So we officially have the pick for the Cleveland Browns. Their pick is in here at number 9. Let's see. Yep, it's in. We have it. We're ready to go. With the 9th pick in the 2025 or 6 NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns are selecting Spencer Fano, offensive tackle out of Utah. There's your first tackle off the board. This, to me, great pick for the Cleveland Browns, who really need to figure out who the quarterback's going to be. But when they do, they have someone to go ahead and protect him. A little undersized. There's questions about maybe he could play guard. We'll see. Holding up against those powerful defensive ends on the outside, Anthony, but extremely athletic and a really good zone run blocker as well.
Yeah, I feel like Spencer Fano was, like I mentioned, a no-brainer pick for them here, either him or Mauigoa. They went with Fano. It felt like either direction, they were fine. He just doesn't necessarily have the medical questions that Mauigoa has, but he has the size, I think, to at least try out a tackle at times, right? Like, let him start there, fail at offensive tackle, and then if anything, you move him inside to guard. But I think he has the staying power at offensive tackle and the experience there. He showed it against plenty of top edge rushers that he's able to hold his own. And I think he'll be a foundational player for the Browns. And you see the turnover with their offensive line this offseason, right? They needed to add some certainty there. They made a couple of trades. They made a couple of signings. But Fano gives them that long-term building block up front that they've kind of been missing since Joe Thomas left all those years ago, right? So they're hoping that Fano's the next Joe Thomas. Might not be quite that player, but I think he'll be a very good starting offensive tackle for years to come.
It's a smart pick for him. Also had Dane Brugler sharing that Fano was his number 1 offensive tackle on his big board. So in terms of selection and where they would go from that, I didn't realize this, but it was 265 pounds whenever he enrolled at Utah, and then added 50 pounds his first year on campus. That's an interesting nugget. Shout out to the Beast is like the best resource. So like, for people that have not,
it's like the opposite of Caden Proctor.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
He doesn't have that issue. He's trying to put on weight. We need you to eat as much as possible.
So maybe him and Caden Proctor should team up and just Caden Proctor give him.
They probably should.
There you go. One of them can be guard. One of them can be tackle, and you're fine. You put them on the same team. They'll work out. It's like Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter. You get the great tandem there.
Speaking of tandems, the tandem pick here for the Giants is on the clock right now. Caleb Downs has fallen out, potentially the top 10. This feels like Caleb Downs because based on everything we heard is that the Giants love Caleb Downs, so they have a chance to go ahead and take him here. Josh, you're going to say something. Didn't mean to cut you off there, but the Giants are on the clock, and they're about halfway through.
Yes. No, I was just going to mention kind of questions of what the Giants might do, but also kind of going back to their previous selection because we got, I think there was maybe the trade that happened that kind of cut us off for briefly with the Chiefs. But I'll just go back to this. Kayvon Thibodeau we've talked about this before the draft for like months. And I know that Anthony and I did multiple recordings. We both had Thomas and I shows of talking about the potentials and even the Giants of like, are they going to pick up his option? Do they want him there? It's obviously a new regime change with a new head coach and John Harbaugh. But that selection there, you know, you're for sure going to get calls. Like, you have to be, right? Like, as soon as that happens, I've got to imagine, because Howie had Kayvon Thibodeau in for a visit back whenever he was drafted. Like, interesting. Okay, let's call Joe Schoen up and be like, what are the plans here for Thibodeau? Now, it may not get done in this draft because we've heard also the rumors of like Jonathan Grenard. Is something done there? Is a trade on that? But if it's not, it just makes me pause and go, that could be like a complete abort or just 180 of like, wait a second, there's another player that initially maybe wasn't available, but now they make that selection because of the way the draft board falls. And who knows? You get Thibodeau, who's not only hanging out with Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith on his off time, but maybe at the Jefferson complex as well.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, Thibodeau, I feel like I've linked the Eagles to him in a trade for so long, right, that it's hopefully it happens eventually, but immediately after that pick, there were multiple reports that said, oh, no, the Giants aren't trading Kayvon Thibodeau. They're not even like, but to me, that's them saying, hey, I know we just took another edge rusher with a top 5 pick, but we're not trading him. So, like, they're just trying to keep that price high if they do eventually want to move on from Kayvon Thibodeau, especially knowing that Jonathan Grenard, maybe an Alex Highsmith, some of these other edge rushers are potentially out there as well. They're trying to keep that value high while they can.
Which makes sense. As they normally do.
Do we have the pick yet?
I have not seen it yet. I was going to do a quick shout out to everybody in the stream. We've surpassed joint stream 7,000 views. I think that's the highest we've had during a draft stream. So you guys are the best for that. But drop a like for us because we're only 1,100 likes. And if the Eagles are, I mean, you could be for any fan. If your team gets the player, or your team will get the player you want if this draft stream gets up to 2,000 combined likes. That's what we've been told.
There you go.
I don't know if it exactly works, but yeah, give us a like.
We've also been told the Giants' pick is in. We're ready for that whenever you are, Josh. We are ready to go for pick 10. Oh, wait. Oh, no, okay. Yes. We're confident that this is who it is. Yes, okay, we have it. So the Giants' pick is in. Dolphins are going to be putting on the clock here in just 1 second once we announce this selection. They're just showing Jordan Tyson to the Saints on ESPN. We have number 10, though. With the 10th overall draft pick, the New York Football Giants have selected Francis Maui-Noah, offensive tackle. They don't go Caleb Downs. They go with the tackle at number 10. I, for one, am pretty surprised by this, Anthony. Not because I don't like Francis Maui-Noah. I think a lot of people think he's the best tackle in this draft. You can debate that with Fano. That's fine. But the entire pre-draft hype was Giants and Caleb Downs, and Downs now falls out of the top 10, and the Giants get an anchor. This feels like a Harbaugh pick, though, right? Am I right? It's got to be a John Harbaugh pick.
Yeah, I mean, he loves running the ball, obviously, and loves using those guys in the trenches, right? But at the same time, this is an interesting pick for the Giants because Andrew Thomas has the left side down pat. They just re-signed Jermaine Illuminor, who was their right tackle. So now where does Maui-Noah fit in? Does he kick inside to guard? Do they move Illuminor inside to guard? So we'll see how it all shakes out. But as far as a value standpoint, I thought Maui-Noah was potentially going to be on the running for them at 5 or 6 to the Browns before they traded back. So to get him now at 10, I can't really argue with it. But at the same time, Caleb Downs still being there is kind of crazy. And it feels like he's unfortunately just going to fall into the Cowboys' lap here at 12. But we'll see what happens in a couple picks.
That's you said it because that's where I was going next. That was the most disappointment for me because it's like it does seem like that's what's going to happen and they're not even going to have to trade up to get him based on the hype. But we're not there to Dallas yet, so understandably. I agree. I think that this one, it screams guard, maybe tackle, but it screams that he's going to just based on, and again, going off of Dane Brugler, Lance Airline shared this. I think Brett Coleman maybe did a breakdown as well. I've watched so much that it's all blurring together. But the general consensus there was that it's all, or that he would be moving to guard or would be the best bet to move that position. It does, remain to be seen what the Giants would do, obviously, for their roster makeup there. But I think like it's going to be a physical type of football, as we know with John Harbaugh, what he likes to do. So it's not a surprise. You're going to add to the trenches as they've done for both picks. And now we see what does Miami do as you don't have very many players making more than the veteran minimum.
Well, the Dolphins are on the clock, as Josh mentions. A lot of picks. They have 11. They have 30. That's the Denver pick. 43, 75, 87, 90, and 94. That many inside the top 100. One more thought on Maui-Noah. 6'6", 315 pounds. He is what people say a mountain of a man. He's massive. And now him versus their brand new edge rusher they got at 5. It's a new year for the Giants. It's a good Giant football team. I could see the Giants being a little bit annoying this year versus the usual bottom of the NFC East, Anthony.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating to see the Giants actually draft well these last couple of years. It hasn't necessarily amounted to a ton of success on the field, but now with John Harbaugh,
it's your fault though. But right. they're just spying on the 30 visits. That's what they're doing. That's what they did last year for sure.
They picked too high this year to, I guess, take some of those players. But maybe we'll see on day 2 and day 3 if they take some of those players that the Eagles hosted on 30 visits. But it's so interesting to see like Reuben Bain and Caleb Downs still there, right? So it's going to be. We'll see what's going to happen with the Dolphins. Could they take a Mekhi Lemon? They traded away Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill's obviously not there anymore. So could they go for a wide receiver there, or Jamon McCoy if his injury and the medical stuff is good? Could they take the chance there? Reuben Bain's probably the top player on a lot of teams' board, but did that off-field situation happen? Like this now, that factoring in, and that why he's falling, and not just a short arm. So a lot to account for here, but things are certainly looking interesting for the Eagles as this all plays out.
Shout out to Terrence, by the way. Before I'll throw up the best available, assuming we don't get the pick before then. But real quickly to Terrence with a 10. Josh, I'm sitting here watching your face after you shared your top secret info. Were you disappointed in what you shared?
No, I'm not disappointed.
Not necessarily. No,
I don't think so. I think that there was a surprise in what you shared with someone that we haven't talked about a lot. I think we can say that.
That's
right?
fair. Yes,
there was a surprise.
Yeah, I would say I'm not I'm not disappointed in it, but I'm also not over the moon about it. So we're just kind of in between. Okay. Like it'd be cool. It'd be good. Yeah, sure. But it's not a downer. I'll just say that, Terrence. We appreciate the super chat there. And someone said earlier, like, oh, why do you share it if you could? I shared it to Thompson Anthony. And then obviously there's, trying to make sure live time here. Otherwise, I would have been like, well, whatever. We'll just see this thing play out. Best available, though. Let's get to that.
There you go. Throw up the best available right now. There is Francis Malinoa is officially off the board. Caleb Downs is still on there as Josh is refreshing it, actually. There we go. So now we got the people up. Listen, Downs is fascinating. There was that little injury question a couple of weeks ago that people seem to ignore. I agree. I don't see him getting past the Cowboys, but then you also wonder, does Dallas sit there with Reuben Bain still on the board? Or you see Mekhi Lemon, if that's not what the Dolphins are going to do right here. Are they trading George Pickens? They will probably be telling us that they are if they take a wide receiver at 12. But the Dolphins right now are the real question mark here for a football team that just doesn't have a lot of talent on it, right? Obviously, Jeff Hafley comes in. They bring over the quarterback, Malik Willis from the Tennessee Titans. I guess he's going to be their starter. I mean, they have a billion picks inside the top 100. I don't think anyone really knows what Miami's going to do in the next 3 minutes.
Yeah, it felt like similar to the Titans, right? They hired a defensive-minded head coach. You would think they would go with a defensive player, right? But that wasn't the case with the Titans. They went with Cardinal Tate. So do the Dolphins kind of flip the script and go with a Mekhi Lemon or a Monroe Freeling or something like that on offense and not take one of these guys, have Reuben Bain or Caleb Downs that we didn't really expect to be here? But with Downs also, I just feel like we see this every time with these elite safety prospects where whether it was a Derwin James all those years ago or a Kyle Hamilton or even Nick Emanwari last year, where it's like they just keep falling. And then you see them have an immediate impact in the NFL and be a game-changing defensive player. So for some reason, the NFL as a whole, it's not just Howie Roseman. They don't really value safeties. And for some reason, every time they get picked up in the teens or the 20s, it comes out and it looks like a phenomenal pick for whoever did land them. So whoever gets Caleb Downs, getting a phenomenal player, but we'll see what the Dolphins are going to do here.
Well, and also, the fact that Downs is falling means the rest of these potential first-round safeties, Dylan Thieneman, the Oregon safety, if a lot of Eagle fans want him, this pushes him back a little bit further until Downs is off the board. Obviously, McManuel McNeil-Warren out of Toledo. Where does he go? Does he go tonight, early tomorrow? We'll see. But the fact that we don't officially have the Caleb Downs off the board or the Reuben Bains of the world, Sadiq continues to be available. No one reached for Sadiq. I didn't think he would go in the top 10, but there was always a chance that somebody would go ahead. We have a trade. Wow. Okay, we have a trade. We're going to get that when we know the actual compensation. But it is Dallas jumping up one to Miami's 11th spot. So Dallas has given up something to go up one position to get somebody that is probably going to be Caleb Downs. We'll see. We don't know yet. But that is Dallas beating out. Apparently other teams were probably calling, and they have somebody in mind that they really want. So the Dolphins have traded out of this pick.
That's interesting. Wow.
The Cowboys are in. We'll see what the compensation is. Although you're moved back one spot, it's going to be a simple late round pick most likely. But the Dallas Cowboys are officially on the clock here. And with new defensive coordinator Christian Parker, you do wonder what defensive player they're going to take. Is it Bain? Is it Downs? Or do they go offense and get a receiver, meaning that they're going to trade, George Pickens? As we do have the compensation. Looks like it's coming through right now. We'll get that on the screen. But the compensation officially is 11 for 12, 177, and 180. So they're getting 2 day 3 picks in exchange for going back one, that is Miami. And the Dallas Cowboys give up 2, like I said, day 3 picks to go ahead and move up 1 spot. There is your official trade on the screen right there, as we'll read it off to you one more time. Dallas has jumped up. They go to number 11, 177 and 180, and we do have the pick. So we can throw the pick is in. We know the player right now as well, as Dallas wasted no time, and they are probably pretty darn happy to be able to make this selection and probably surprised that it came through. With the 11th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Caleb Downs, safety out of The Ohio State University. His fall stops at 12, and he goes to Christian Parker. And, I don't like praising the Cowboys as an Eagle fan myself, guys, but it's a great pick for Dallas. They needed secondary help more than any team in the National Football League. They have a top 3 offense and a bottom 3 defense. They couldn't stop anybody. I think they gave up 31 points a game. Caleb Downs might be the best player in the entire draft when it's all said and done. I saw him as a prime Minkah Fitzpatrick, Anthony, a very rare player to fall out of the top 10. He goes number 11 to the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I spoke about it beforehand. I think Caleb Downs is the best player in this draft, regardless of position. And for the Cowboys to get him, and they only have to give up a couple day 3 picks to trade up from 12 to 11 to ensure that they get him. I know one thing. Former Eagles secondary coach Christian Parker, who's now the Cowboys defensive coordinator, he is very happy right now. I mean, to land Caleb Downs and potentially like a Vic Fangio-esque defense, it's a perfect fit. Downs is the player that can do it all. He did it all for Ohio State, and just praise for the player he is off the field, on the field. The size is not the greatest. He's not a Nick Manwari out there, but he's going to be a dominant safety for a long, long time in the NFL, and there's really no questions about the impact that he's going to have. It just came down to positional value, and the Cowboys are getting a great player here for a defense that was one of the worst in the NFL, and he'll be a transformative player for them.
Yeah, I hate to really say this would be the last time that we say this on the stream. It's a good pick for Dallas.
It is a good pick for Dallas. It's a good pick for Dallas.
He's a stud. Joel Klatt was going on and on about him. Not a surprise. Ohio State guy and going on for the his college podcast, but college football podcast. But yeah, like intelligence, urgency, toughness, as you guys mentioned with Christian Parker. I saw somebody do a player comp for Jalen Petrie, which is kind of interesting too. You can
That's interesting.
See that as well for his game, but. Overall, like again, like you said, given him the weapons, they needed someone that they could have taken any defensive player and be like, oh, that's a good pick for them, right? But this is one of those, obviously makes sense of him falling down, trading up, getting the selection, and it didn't cost too much. Again, I'll put it back up here for people that are just back and joining, but there's the official trade of what they gave up. And as you said, Thomas, the 5th round pick, 177, and also a 5th round pick of 180 to move up 1 spot, which is very, very minimal to just make sure they get their guy. So Caleb Downs in Dallas.
Yeah, and a position that Miami didn't need, right? I mean, this is an easy trade for the Dolphins, who didn't really want Caleb Downs and can just pick up some additional days, day 3 picks. And like Josh said, now they're back on the clock. So we'll see what Miami wants to do here at number 12. But we are 11 picks away from the Philadelphia Eagles, which is it's going quick. It's going very fast. We are already a quarter of the way done here, Anthony, and it's starting to heat up. A lot of good players left on the board right now.
Yeah, a lot of good players left, headlined by probably Reuben Bain Jr. for a lot of teams, but it's kind of unfortunate to see how well the rest of the NFC East has drafted so far, right? They all landed at least one Ohio State defensive player, right? That was regarded as like a top 5. There were a lot of people, if you said the top 5 players in this draft, they had Sonny Styles, they had Arvell, Reese, and they had Caleb Downs in that mix, right? And now all 3 of them are in the NFC East. So the Eagles will certainly have a tough act to follow at 23, but like the way this board is falling, there are going to be some names within range, whether it's a small trade up or if Howie Roseman wants to get crazy and make a bigger trade up. We'll see, but it's shaking out pretty well for them overall.
Well, let's mention trading up.
Yep.
I was going to say, let's get this report here from Sal Paolantonio 20 minutes ago. Multiple sources say the Jets have had conversations about moving out of 16, and the Eagles have certainly talked to the Jets, and the Eagles have talked to the Bucs at 15. So we could be a couple of picks away from a trade up for the Philadelphia Eagles for whoever it is, whoever it will officially be. We will see. Sorry, Josh, go ahead. I wanted to get that out there. We're
No,
talking about
yeah,
trade-ups.
that was interesting as well. I'm seeing that one. Yeah, we've got shout out to Joe Zero with the member for 22 months. Hey guys, cheers! Let's go Eagles! Cheers, cheers again.
Cheers, go Eagles.
Appreciate that. We got over
Okay.
almost 8,000 people hanging out now on the stream. You guys are nuts. But this is so much fun. And if you were here at one of the OGs from the very first stream, 3 years ago that we did for this thing together on
it's changed a lot.
It's improved a little bit, if I do say so myself. And obviously having the Ant-Man on with us as well, our draft expert and analyst there. So shout out to you, sir. We're dressing with the tux.
You're too kind. I appreciate it.
Tux with a hat is a little interesting combo, but at least you got the tux on.
I think it works. I think it works.
Keep it classy over here, but keep it to myself right here. You know, this is what I usually wear. Let's keep it the same.
I like it. Let's see. What is Miami going to do?
Real quick, in regards to the Eagles, as far as potential trade up to 15 or 16, in my mind, that means, hey, we want to get ahead of the Lions, who many people have projected offensive tackle too, right? So whether it's a Monroe Freeling or Caden Proctor, it feels like either one of those two would be who they actually hosted both on 30 visits. They both check a lot of boxes for the Eagles. Proctor, and they're both in attendance, I believe, at the draft too, which is a weird benchmark that the Eagles have kind of cleared in the last 5 drafts. So we'll see if they're able to actually move up, but they have the extra 3rd round pick to be able to do so, to make that kind of leap. And they probably have a future 2027 first round pick in their back pocket, right, for the AJ Brown deal, assuming that happens. So they have the assets to be able to kind of move, and we know Howie Roseman's never afraid to make a trade.
Certainly working the phones right now, as they're just showing the Cowboy pick, but we are waiting for the Dolphin pick. I don't think we have that one yet. Ruben Bain still available?
One thing quickly, too, is Venge Ioane was one guy who was supposed to be, apparently, to a lot of people, top 10. Like, there's multiple draft analysts out there saying, like, oh, who's the one guy that's surefire bet? Who's going to be this guy? He was trending towards the top 10. The fact that Ioane's not gone in the top 10, interesting. The Eagles brought him in for a 30 visit. Be able to fall a little bit further? Is he another guy that maybe Howie didn't necessarily anticipate being available and then making a trade up? So keep an eye out there, at least as far as these next couple picks. Shout out to Bob with a 2. I think it's just 2 emojis of like. I think that means I like Anthony's info. It says he knows his stuff with a little go birds.
There you go.
Appreciate that.
There you
Bob.
go.
Appreciate that.
There you go.
This is my favorite time of the year. I try and stay on top of the draft as much as possible. Maybe a little bit too
Anthony
much,
does not
according to my wife,
that.
But I love the draft. This is my time.
Yeah, your 45,000 mock drafts. Don't give it away. But it's why you're so knowledgeable. Russell with a 5. You ready for Cowboys fans to say they're going to go to the Super Bowl this year? Sure, yeah, because they do it every year. It's nothing new. Tim with a 2 also. 3rd year watching. Best draft show around. Tim, you're a real one. Appreciate that. 3 years going strong. Getting better every year.
Do we have the 13th overall pick, but not the 12th? Is that what I'm seeing right now? The Dolphin pick is in. Do we know who the Dolphin pick is? I see that we think we know who the 13th pick is, but we need the 12th pick.
I think everyone's so surprised about 13 that maybe there's a delay. Somebody's not reporting the 12. Nobody cares about the Dolphins. We need it.
Got to be a 12th pick, right? Okay, we don't have it. We think we know who the Rams have selected.
Yeah.
But we do not have the 13th or the 12th overall pick yet, so we are searching. Anyone have it yet? I don't have it.
It's not.
They need to tell us.
Nope.
Who are they taking? The Dolphin pick is in, so the Rams are on the clock, and we know who they're taking, which is very interesting that we do. But we do not know who the Dolphins. Did they just skip the Dolphins here? Did they just rip their pick away? I don't know what's going on. This is weird. I've never seen this.
Good luck.
Maybe it's one of those situations where they didn't submit their pick in time, and now they just got skipped over. And
How
now
about
the next
that?
team
Can you imagine?
Jeff Hafley was letting Kevin Patullo drive, and he wasn't ready with a pick. So
maybe not.
There it is.
We still don't have it, right?
I'm not seeing anything.
Pick.
No.
This is weird.
Well, the thing is, Jay Glazer himself, who was the one that reported this news, is he said before the draft that there was something that he knows is going to happen that was crazy, but he can't say it until the team is on the clock. So I'm assuming that's what it was. There were other reporters that kind of alluded to the same thing. So this was something that was pretty well known behind the scenes, but now that they're on the clock, but according to the league, I'm assuming they're on the clock. We don't know what Miami did 12.
Okay, well, let's see. Let's see what exactly is going to happen here. at 12. We're going to be like live with ESPN here in a second once the Dolphins make their selection.
This is their trick to just throw everybody off that was getting ahead of them.
I guess.
Yeah, delay everything.
It's just weird that it's taking
I'm
this
not seeing
long.
it.
It sure is being delayed. All right, well, we'll wait and see. Shout out to the 8,200
I might just go ahead and
people
pick for
watching
'em.
right now on pins and needles, waiting to see who the Dolphins are taking. I see people are
Oh
trying
my
to tell us
gosh.
who they think it is, but
I have
Okay,
it. I have
think
it.
we have it. Is it who I think it is? Yeah. All right, go ahead and throw it up. This is very interesting now. Okay, so we have the
Okay.
Dolphins pick. Okay. Let me know when we get the sound going here. With the 12th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Hayden Proctor, tackle out of Alabama. That is very interesting. If there was one name who kept being tied to Philadelphia more and more the past couple of days, it was Hayden Proctor. He is now officially gone. And here's the question. Some people are like me, and they see potential talent, but potential bust as well, because he's a little bit iffy in terms of pass protection. He has up and down moments, but he's also 6'7" and 355 pounds. He's a massive, massive player, a fantastic right tackle when he wants to be, when he is locked in, and for someone like Andy DeBona, a guy that he really likes.
Yeah, I think Hayden Proctor was another player that was just paralysis by analysis. I mean, he was starting at left tackle in the SEC for multiple years. One of the younger players in the draft, in a draft class that, due to NIL and the COVID year, you see some 24, 25-year-old prospects where Hayden Proctor's on the much younger end of that kind of range. And I think he's going to step in for the Dolphins and a team that pretty much needs everything, right? They kind of tore it down this offseason. They have a whole new regime there. I feel like Hayden Proctor, he has the potential to be a decade-long starter at left tackle. And given that you're starting a team from scratch, getting that left tackle of the future is a good move for the Dolphins. And while some people might view it as like the first big reach of the draft, I'm much higher on Hayden Proctor than a lot of people are.
Which is understandable, you know, and as we've seen too, I think we mentioned this very briefly, which I'll put this on the screen, then we'll get to the pick because I think the Rams have made, we've known for a little bit, but the tweet itself, and this was Nick Saban on the Pat McAfee show, but just sharing about Hayden Proctor and saying that he's a guy who kind of needs a little extra motivation, maybe not a self-starter necessarily. We did mention that previously, difference I think for Spencer Fano for the two, what they could bring to the table there. But yeah, it's just, we'll see. If he can, then I don't think there's any questions, right? Like as you mentioned, Anthony, if he's in shape and he puts in the work, then like the sky's the limit. But as far as, you know, is he one of those guys that you do have to worry about? We've seen it affect players sometimes where it throws off their career, their trajectory completely, and then other guys that shows up and you're like, oh yeah, no issue. So we'll see. But they do get some help for the offensive line, which they knew. I believe we can go ahead and do the Rams selection.
Can we do the Rams selection? This one's okay. Let me know. Okay. The Rams picked pretty quick too. This is interesting. Back to back, very interesting picks here. Proctor at 12, and now the Los Angeles Rams. Their pick is officially in here with a 13th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Los Angeles Rams have selected Ty Simpson, quarterback out of Alabama.
Whoa.
There were questions, and this is nuts, if Ty Simpson would even make the first round, Anthony. I mean, this was seriously debated the past couple of weeks. Not only does Ty Simpson go inside the top 15, he goes to Sean McVay's L.A. Rams. This is shocking because we just got a report a couple of days ago they were about to extend Matthew Stafford, who, yes, is at the end of his career, but you are taking somebody on a team that went to the NFC Championship game who is not going to play, barring injury, this year in a Super Bowl year in 2026.
Yeah, this is easily the biggest shocker of the draft so far, right? There were some rumblings before the draft, and the report about an hour or so before the draft was that Les Snead was one of the people that Ty Simpson's parents consulted before they made the decision for him to enter the draft. And he was like, yeah, he'll be an early pick. He'll be a first-round pick. And now I guess we see why, right? Because the Rams had their eyes on him this whole time. Jay Glazer talked about before the draft that he knew something was going to happen, but he couldn't talk about it. And right when the Rams were on the clock is when Jay Glazer put this news out a couple minutes ago. So this Ty Simpson pick was in the works for a while. There's a lot of questions about if he was ready for not. Some people thought he should go back to school because he didn't have a ton of starts at Alabama. He's looked pretty decent when he was out there, but at the same time, it's like the 13th overall pick. It's hard to discredit an offensive mind like Sean McVay, especially given what he did with Puka Nacua as a day 3 pick and what he's done with pretty much everybody on that offense since he's been there. But with Matthew Stafford there, they're able to kind of let Ty Simpson sit and develop for a little bit. But given their Super Bowl winning window, this is crazier than when the Eagles drafted Jalen Hurts in the second round, right? When Carson Wentz was there, in my opinion. So we'll see if they sign Matthew Stafford to that contract extension or what happens there. But regardless, this is like the Kirk Cousins, Michael Penix situation. This is a little bit weird for the Rams, especially a team that's drafted so well in recent years.
Less need, F them picks.
Apparently not.
Just go ahead and take somebody, long-term value. I agree. It's like, if you're going to take him and you believe in him long-term, even if it's like, hey, development, that's fine. But like, as you guys have said, did you really have to take him here? Yeah. I mean, maybe there's some other interest around the league. Possibly it's like, okay, we just have to, there's no sense in trading back. Obviously quarterback, crazy value. So if you think you have your guy, you're not going to play around with it. But man, 13, that's, as the chat has reacted as well, kind of crazy.
Well, let's just be clear. This might be a kind of question mark pick for the Rams because of need and Super Bowl windows and Stafford. If you're Ty Simpson, I think you have to be absolutely floored. This is your best case scenario by a mile. Yes, you could go 100%. To the Arizona Cardinals and start day one. But now you go to the best offensive mind in football, and you get to learn under a potential future Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion in Matthew Stafford, and there's no pressure, right? You know you're the heir apparent. You get to study for a year. This is L.A. telling us, listen, Stafford's on the way out, and we want to make sure we have his heir apparent. And I saw an interesting note before the draft, guys, that going into this draft season, Ty Simpson and his parents were reaching out to a couple of NFL GMs asking, where would you rank me, right? Should I come out of the NFL draft? Because they're getting paid a lot of money to be the quarterback at Alabama. One of the people that they talked to was the Rams GM, and he said they thought he'd be a first-round draft pick, and now the Rams are taking him at 13 overall. That puts the Baltimore Ravens on the clock. Ruben Bain is still available. It feels like a very Raven pick. We'll see. But Ty Simpson at 13. I mean, does this mean Carson Beck goes in round 1 now? I mean, we saw that report a couple of nights ago that it was like maybe Carson Beck sneaks in. Now it feels like Carson Beck or Tanner McKee might be a name we hear by the time that this night is over. Did McKee's stock just go up? Because if you're a team that wants a quarterback, there are none in the first round anymore, right?
Sure. Yeah, this is a crazy situation, right? Because it helps a lot of teams that weren't expecting 2 quarterbacks to be taken in the first round, let alone in the first 13 picks, right? So now just more guys are falling down the board. I'm sure Baltimore wasn't sure that Ruben Bain was going to be there, but it's going to be interesting to see because there were all these quotes from the GM or whatever saying that, oh, we planned on trading for Max Crosby and signing Trey Hendrickson, where now it's like, oh, one of the top edge rushers in the draft is going to be there. Let's see if you put your money where your mouth is. So we'll see if they're able to actually take an edge here or if they go with a Vengaone, who's a guy that's been mocked to them a ton at 14 since they need some help along the interior of the offensive line. So they certainly have probably more options than they thought they would at 14.
Can I just say really quickly, Josh, that from an Eagle fan perspective, the fact that the Rams did not take both Lemon and Sadiq, if you wanted a weapon, is a very good sign. I know we still are 10 picks away, but the Rams were one of those Sadiq Lemon kind of areas where you could see them taking him and Philadelphia misses out. And the fact that they're on the board here is, I would say, exciting. There are obviously still plenty of other teams ahead who could go ahead and take him, but I think Sadiq potentially could be getting into trade-up range for Philadelphia here in a couple of minutes, especially if this pick right here at 14, which we don't have yet, is Ruben Bain.
Yep, I agree. It takes you to plenty of options because, as you said, you could go multiple directions. Ioane, as we mentioned, Sadiq, Lemon, even potentially, I know Anthony doesn't, but Monroe Freeling, like if they select him, it's not as much for Anthony's picking. But yeah, you have multiple guys out there that are falling or at least maybe going to go a little further than what people expected. So yeah, it gives you some potential outs, which we would take. Shout out to Ant as well with the 2. Don't forget, drop a like, show support, go Birds.
There you go.
To do that. We do appreciate it. Almost to 2,000 likes, 1,800 between the streams. We can get to 2,000.
Yeah, we have 8,500 people watching right now, so we can definitely get that a lot higher as well too. Would be nice.
Shout out to Zarvan with a 2 as well. Go Birds, DHs. Thanks for that term of endearment. Let's get Freeling. So Anthony would wholeheartedly disagree with you, but we do appreciate the support. Reaper with a 2. Second year watching, you guys. Keep it up. 2 years. Let's go.
Thank you for watching. Thanks
Michael
for hanging out.
Also with a 2. Y'all better like the vid. Very put together show. Thank you for that again. Just some encouragement for those people out there. Slim Reaper with a 5. My guys, 3 best Eagles guys to watch, 100% Go Birds DH.
There you go.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. We have the pick,
We got
right?
the pick.
I think
Okay.
we have the pick is in for the Baltimore Ravens.
Get back
Yes.
to the super chats here in a second. Yes, let's get these picks here.
Okay, so Baltimore is ready to go at 14. That means Tampa's on the clock, and let me know when you're ready for the Baltimore Ravens and a new era there with the Baltimore Ravens as well, which is very interesting to see what they're going to go ahead and do. With the 14th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Baltimore Ravens select Vega Ioane, offensive lineman from Penn State. And so there goes Vega. Another option for Philadelphia, especially the tackle spot, is officially off the board. Some people had him as the number 1 guy. I've seen pro comparisons to Quentin Nelson. Very strong interior presence. He's officially a guard, though, overall, right? 6'4", 345 pounds. He is a very, very, very strong player. Can be a little susceptible to quick moves, Anthony, but you like this guy, and I think Baltimore gets an anchor pick for their brand new regime.
Yeah, I think Vega is one of the better players in this draft class as far as just like a clean prospect that you're not going to have to worry about. He's a plug-and-play starting guard for probably the next decade in Baltimore, and I feel like that's exactly why they took him. I know John Harbaugh's not there anymore, and they used to invest a ton in the offensive line with these big hog mollies or whatever they want to call them, but Venga's a guy, like I said, you look at some of those highlights for an offensive lineman, Penn State would put him in the slot and then have him go in motion and just unerase a guy out of the play. He was a really fun player to watch, and a guy where sometimes you see these bigger guards where the physicality doesn't necessarily meet like the body style. He's a big player, and he also sends a message with his physicality on the field. So a great pick by Baltimore that was expected by many, whereas it seemed like that 13-14 range, it was for a long time, it was projected that the Rams were going to take Mekhi Lemon and the Ravens were going to go Venga. They went with Venga, but obviously the Rams went in a totally different direction. That has kind of thrown this whole thing out of whack now.
So one of the potential guys for the Eagles, as we know. I'm seeing lots of comments in the chat as well, like dang it, frustrations, other comments that I can't say because, you know, it's a family show. But understanding the emotion there from maybe a player that the Eagles did bring in for a 30th visit. We talked about him as well multiple times. And, yeah, I think it's a solid pick as you were both kind of going through. But I know Peter Schrager shared this, and there was, I think, maybe Jordan Schultz, but usually do the questions like asking other GMs, other guys around the league, like who's the surefire bet. Ioane was the number 1, like the most just like, hey, who can you bank on is going to be a solid starter in the NFL? And Ioane, based on their conversations, was that guy. So he felt like, you know, maybe if he fell a little bit further, but still, as you said, Sadiq's available. We could take a look at some of the other guys as well. There's lots of options that the Eagles can go to. ESPN's not fully updated. I'll refresh it a little bit, but again, they're behind us. So there's a couple guys that they say are available that maybe are not.
Well, the number 1 there is the real question here in Ruben Bain. And I had Tampa with needing an edge rusher sitting here on the clock at number 15. We can throw them up as well. Bain is a guy that, you know, suddenly gets into some troubles with the law behind the wheel of a car. It's very interesting to see him fall this far. There were questions about maybe his arm length being a little bit of a problem too. I thought Ruben Bain was a top 5 overall player in this draft, in terms of being a true edge rusher. Then you have Mekhi Lemon. I don't think the Buccaneers need to go there. Kenyon Sadiq, I don't see them needing tight end as well. But you start to kind of look at maybe a cornerback. Do they potentially go ahead and look at another edge rusher further on down? There's the guy from Falk from Auburn potentially as well. I'd be surprised if Ruben Bain makes it past the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now at 15. We'll see, though.
Yeah, there's the next 3 teams could take an edge. I know the Jets took one already, but the fact that who knows how they feel about Will McDonald or what they're going to do, and is the value just too good for a team that's kind of rebuilding? Would they take a Ruben Bain? And the Lions have been linked to edge rushers, but also Monroe Freeling is still out there at offensive tackle. So still a lot of different options out there. Mekhi Lemon is still there that probably a lot of people didn't expect. So is these injury concerns? Is it off-field concerns? What is causing these guys to fall? But I'm sure the teams that still have a pick remaining aren't going to be complaining about some of these players that are available.
I don't think so. And by the way, guys, I just got to share this as well because shout out to the sponsor of the stream here, Dude Wipes. Vega Ioane, definitely one of the cleanest picks. I think the cleanest pick of the draft so far. We would go with that. So, again, shout out to Dude Wipes. 4 billion butts wiped yearly. So, shout out to them for that. Okay. And if you want to take part in that as well, you certainly can. Just click the link in the description. Sold at Amazon and retailers worldwide. Shout out to Dude Wipes for the sponsorship of the stream. There you go.
There you go. Cleanest pick of the draft. I like that. I didn't like having all the stuff on my screen there until it got wiped off, but we'll take it.
It's stuff. I didn't have a choice of what that was whenever we played that. So just imagine it's mud. It's nothing. Just
It's all right. The dude wipes took care of it. It doesn't matter what it was.
It's gone
That's all
now.
that matters.
Jeff McClain says if Ruben Bain continues to drop, the Eagles may need to pounce. I would not hate that pick at all. I think he's going to go here to the Bucs, but I would, if Philly could get an edge rusher in the caliber of Ruben Bain, I would 100% do it. But we actually have the pick, and everything I just said is not going to matter, which might have spoiled it. But we are officially ready for the Bucs pick at number 15. It is in. Let me know when we have that one ready. As the ESPN broadcast is just showing the Baltimore Ravens. There we go. With the 15th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have selected Ruben Bain, pass rusher out of Miami. And so, like I said, forget everything that I just said, but there goes Ruben Bain. My pro comp was actually Brandon Graham. I don't know how accurate that's officially going to be, but I think he's a fantastic low center of gravity pass rusher. He's got great heavy hands, relentless bull rush. He's very good against the run as well, and the motor is nonstop. I mean, he led the team as a freshman in sacks overall. 83 pressures in 2025, Anthony, and the only reason he's available at 15 at Tampa Bay is because of off-the-field issues.
Yeah, whether it's the off-the-field issues or like his T-Rex arms, right? I mean, 30 and 7/8 inch, third percentile arm length is a little bit concerning for an edge rusher, but you just put on the tape, and he was a key cog in that Miami Dolphins, like that dominant Miami defense. And now I'm sure the Buccaneers are happy, and they probably weren't expecting him to be there available for them at 15. So as long as the off-the-field stuff checks out, and that situation was a couple years ago, we'll see. Seems like that was all addressed, but a lot of people had him as potentially the number one edge as far as just like a guaranteed, you don't really have to worry about on-field, like his fit. And I feel like Ruben Bain checks a lot of boxes, and for a team that really needed help on the edge in Tampa Bay.
It's the guy that had, believe it or not, 58.5 sacks his junior and senior year of high school combined. 58.5 sacks.
Jeez.
Now, it's high school, but, like, I'm thinking math-wise, I don't know how many games. It's been too long to go back and think of how many games they're playing in high school these days, but, like, 20, like that. What is that? Almost 30 sacks each season? That's ridiculous. I mean, that's
like the defensive version of Derrick Henry's high school stats. Yes. Right? He was rushing for like 4,000 yards in a season or something crazy like
just
that.
Just nonstop. I think that's how you know you're gonna be pretty good, at least at the next level of college. Now, again, the question becomes for the NFL, and you guys mentioned with the T-Rex arms and some other things there. But if he's in the right system, I do think that he could be good. It's a question of we've seen. I mean, Bryce Huff, the very easy example for Eagles fans, right? It's like not great there, but with Robert Saleh, he had a lot more success. He's retired now. Well wishes to him in his future endeavors. But, you know, it's like if you're in the right system, you can be successful. And I think that's the question for Ruben Bain, because he's shown it certainly in the college tape. Dane Brugler, I think, had him as his third best edge rusher. So there you go. You got Tampa getting an edge rusher, adding to the pass rush. Got a couple.
Speaking of edge rusher, the Jets.
Or do we have...
Go ahead. No. Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, a couple super chats run through here as well. Xander with a 2. When do you think AJ will be traded? We've said this one a couple different videos, but, I mean, for here, we could say it for the sake of, I don't know, once again, but post-June 1st, there's just no sense that it makes if he's traded before that. Unless a team said, hey, we want to give 2 first-round picks to trade, like, now, maybe, but post-June 1st. Darth with a 2. Would Howie trade up and take Ioane instead of tackle? I'm sorry, I'm just getting to these. It's a good question.
Yeah.
I think he would have considered it. We were very close.
The answer is no.
But the answer officially, yeah. Daniel with a 5. One suggestion, just have the current round on the ticker, not the whole draft. Okay, that's a good, I don't know if I can. Let's see. For past, strip for past.
That'd be nice. I didn't even think about that.
Turn it.
To just be first,
yeah, let
just
me
the
see
first
if I can
rounders.
Update this. You know what? That's a good call. Thank you for that, Daniel. That's a good call. Actually, I can. Looky there. Okay, hold on. It'll be
there.
Up there.
Go.
You got it. Shout out to Daniel.
There it is.
Keeping it down.
This
will be much better. Look at you. Appreciate that. If I could, I'd give you the 5 back. That helps us out. But thank you. We appreciate it. Terrence with a 10. Conspiracy theory alert. Hear me out. Would one of these teams be interested in AJ for the Eagles tonight too? If so, tonight's pick and whatever other compensation. I mean, again, that goes back to like you trading before the $43 million cap hit and everything else. That'd be madness. Mikey with a 5.
I totally agree.
Appreciate that. Didn't see a comment. We do appreciate the support, though. Paco with a 2. Breaking, the Ravens backed out of the pick. Go figure, you think? Will they do that for the Max Crosby one also? They're like, oh, hey, we don't want this one.
We'll see. We have the pick for
selection.
the Jets. Let's do the Jets pick here at 16. It's officially in.
Dang it.
Yep, it's in. And it's hard to hide who it is. I think we all know if we've watched our shows recently.
Josh is just giving away everything with his emotions.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
Just read
With the
pick.
16th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Kenyon Sadiq, tight end out of Oregon. Oh, man. He fell pretty darn close to 23 overall, Anthony. I love Kenyon Sadiq. Not just because he's a great athlete or a great pass catcher. He also blocks his butt off in the running game. I mean, a fantastic tight end prospect. There's been some good ones coming out of the NFL draft the past couple of years. Last year's draft had 2 tight ends in the first round. This is a tough one for Eagle fans to swallow, but a really good pickup for the Jets and whoever their quarterback's going to be for the future.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting because last year they took Mason Taylor so high, who was another tight end that was linked to the Eagles quite a bit, but now it's just probably the best player available for them, right? And I feel like Kenyon Sadiq is so much more than just a tight end, right? And I know because of the size at only 6'3" and 240 pounds, he's not going to be a 6'6", 260 tight end that's going to be blocking in line a ton, right? Like you kind of have to design the way you want him to block, but as far as just his impact as a pass catcher, and everybody knows the Jets need pass catchers outside of Garrett Wilson. Kenyon Sadiq is a player that's going to be an impact player immediately, and I just mean with the ball in his hands, down the field, you can design all different kinds of touches for him. He's a versatile player. He can line up anywhere. He can block. It's just a matter of you're not going to put him on an island on the outside like an offensive tackle, right? Which is what some tight ends are able to do in the NFL nowadays. Sadiq's not that kind of guy, but as far as what he can do as a pass catcher, he could have as much of an impact as a top wide receiver as a team. And like I mentioned, the Jets really only have Garrett Wilson. So now to bring in Sadiq on the offensive side of the ball for an offense that really needed the spark, I think Sadiq can be a big help for that New York offense.
Yep, an insane athlete, and there was hope. There was thought. Zach Berman said, yeah, the Jets going with Kenyon Sadiq. The board dwindles for the Eagles. The Lions on the clock now. Do they go offensive tackle? Do they go edge? I mean, one of the best athletic testing combine measurables from a tight end since, 2003? He was faster than almost every receiver in the 10-yard split in the combine. At his size and the versatility, it's why we've had several videos and several shows and everything else talked about it leading up to it. But it did feel like it was one of those, maybe you trade up, maybe there's a potential 16. I guess it was too high. I will be interested. There's other tight ends out there. You feel like the Eagles have to draft one within the first 3 or 4 rounds. But yeah, this was the one you're like, maybe there's possibility. He's getting further back there. Not going to happen.
Well, and you wonder, how hard they tried to go and trade up. There were those reports we talked about 30 minutes ago that the Jets and the Bucs were the 2 places where they potentially were listening to go ahead and move back. And I think the problem is that when Ruben Bain falls and Sadiq is still there, it's like, we got to take these guys. I mean, I think the Jets, you go from 16 to 23, you're going to miss out not only on Sadiq, but a couple of other really good players. And so whether or not Philadelphia tried, who knows? Maybe we never will. But it's a tough one to swallow. I think a lot of us Eagle fans had a lot of unrealistic expectations. Like, what if, you go to 10 for Caleb Downs? Or what if you get Maui Noah there at 12 or 13? There was one star that I think a lot of us were really hopeful he could get to this range, and he did, Anthony. That was Kenyon Sadiq, and instead he's off the board. Now Philadelphia, their selection gets a little bit thinner, obviously.
Yeah, it felt like there were some people that still were, a lot of the reporters that cover the team full-time did not think that Sadiq was a real option for them. And maybe that's just a positional value thing and things like that, but as far as Howie Roseman's draft history. But at the same time, they never really drafted cornerbacks high, right? Before they drafted Quinyon Mitchell. They never drafted linebackers high before they drafted Jahad Campbell. So Howie Roseman has been able to zig when others zag and kind of even break his own tendencies, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately, with Kenyon Sadiq. But luckily for the Eagles, this is a loaded tight end class at the position, and a guy like Eli Stowers he actually tested better than Sadiq in certain athletic testing at the combine. So not necessarily the same player, but they're going to have plenty of options at the position going forward.
I'll be content if we get Stowers. I'll be content. Maybe not as happy about the potential for Sadiq that could have happened. But David with a 5, appreciate that. Is there a college highlight show y'all like? How do you keep up with all these players? Year 3 watching the draft with you. Great as always. Go Birds. Thank you for that. First
appreciate
off, David.
That.
I mean, Anthony's a psycho. So he's doing it like from the start of the regular season, so it's nothing unusual for him. I'd say for Thomas and I both, it's a lot of just research, looking at prospects as they get 30 visits, as we hear about other guys. Obviously, throughout college football season, we'll watch games and highlights and stuff, so kind of the bigger names are easier, but it's a lot of time and effort and energy that goes into it, so we appreciate that.
We have the Lions pick now at pick 17. That one is in. All this talk of all these trade backs, and no one's trading back besides that one move by the Dolphins and then the Browns going with the Kansas City Chiefs. But we do have the Detroit Lions selection here, as they did not win enough games to get into the playoffs, and so we are almost to the playoff teams right now. Mm-hmm. But Detroit's pick is in.
Fran Duffy will like this one for the Eagles.
There you go. Yeah, okay. With the 17th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Blake Miller, offensive lineman from Clemson, off the board again. And Detroit potentially looking at offensive linemen, and they do go with offensive linemen. And Philadelphia is going to miss out here on Blake Miller, who was another possibility.
There he is.
Yeah, I think Blake Miller was. I know you mentioned Fran Duffy kind of sarcastically, because Fran Duffy of PHLY is not high on Blake Miller at all. He thinks he's kind of a limited player because he's kind of shown it all at the college level. And I kind of view that the complete opposite way. I think if a player was really, really good and has a ton of experience and was able to play games, that shouldn't be necessarily viewed as a negative, in my opinion, right? Especially for a team like the Lions that's going to want him to play right away. It's not like the Eagles situation where he's going to be a developmental player and come off the bench and work for further down the line behind Lane Johnson. So I think Blake Miller is a great fit for Detroit. He has played 54 starts. He's 6'6", 315 pounds, tested better athletically than I think a lot of people did, with a 9.90 relative athletic score. And I feel like although he played right tackle and there's criticisms about can he play left tackle, whatever the case might be, it seems like they're going to move the other guy to left tackle, and they need a right tackle, right? So he'll fit in there. He'll start from day one, and I feel like it makes sense. It's not Monroe Freeling, who a lot of people have pegged in at that 17th spot to the Lions, but they probably feel like that Miller is a little bit more of a day one starter, and they don't have as much of a projection as they would have had to make with Monroe Freeling.
And why we don't have, I think it's the first highlight we don't have for the first round, believe it or not. Should have had a Blake Miller, but I was leaning more towards the Fran Duffy assessment. Not
I was wondering
that
why
far
it was
back.
A little bit quieter
I'm sorry,
than,
not
the
that
other
far. Not that far back, but it was just going off of. I remember I think Tyler Booker was last year, the first and only one that we didn't have the highlight of, because they were just going off of like the top 50 I think top 50 prospects on the board. But yeah, we don't have him. I'm with you. He needs to add some weight, like 315 pounds. There is a lot of athleticism. I mentioned him in 30 visits for the Eagles and other prospects that they potentially could bring in. But as far as a guy for Detroit, I'm not too upset about it from the Eagles standpoint, as you just mentioned there, because there's other guys available, and I'm not too concerned about him going off the board. But as far as just Detroit's prospects, it'd be questionable, he's got some potential there. I do think that he needs to get stronger based on what a lot of the other draft experts have weighed in on it, but we'll see.
And hand up for me right there.
Puts...
I completely blanked on Penei Sewell's name. I said the other guy moving to left tackle, but Penei Sewell is going to move from right tackle to left tackle. So any Lions fans,
he's a little better than another guy, but yes,
but
there you
it's
go.
Fair. Well, a lot of names.
It's the other guy, He won an award over Lane Johnson one time, so we don't really acknowledge him as much. But
totally don't hold a grudge at all, right?
Never. Skylar, what's up with the 5? I'm at the draft, fellas. Wow, Rams take Ty Simpson. Eagles need to trade up for Sadiq. I'm sorry, this was earlier, but we're getting there. They had a chance.
Missed that one.
They had a chance, Skylar. Let us know if you have any picks that are leaking. Feel free. Shoot us a text.
Yeah.
CJ with a 10. If the Georgia State wide receiver, that's Ted Hurst, by the way, available second round, I'd love him as an Eagle. Funny enough, my coworker knows him personally here in Savannah. Go Birds, baby. Really?
There you go.
That's wild.
That's the connection we need right there.
That's what we need. He's good if your coworker likes him. Yes. He's good.
If the Eagles take him, maybe, help us with a little connection for the air. If you can, that'd be awesome. Help us with some sort of connection there. That'd be great. H with the Howie talking to the Jets to get one of the safeties. Question.
We thought, but no.
But no.
Sadly. No.
JS Money with a 2. Didn't see that, but we appreciate the support. Also, DRK with a 5. Number 1 Eagles content creators here dropping like a sub. Yes, do that. Do you see the Eagles moving up? If so, where? Love the draft upgrades. Looking clean like dude wipes.
There you go. There you go.
Shout out the sponsor.
Minnesota's on the clock right now. We don't have the pick yet. I'm trying to look where they could go potentially. And I think at this point, guys, you might just stay put at 23 and take best available. I don't know if they have somebody that they absolutely have to get. I mean, Proctor, we've heard Proctor. We've heard that multiple areas. I'll just say that in terms of Philadelphia liked him. He went way too high. And now that Sadiq's gone, you wonder how many of these other people are these can't-miss players that Howie wants to go up and grab versus you stay at 23, see where the board falls here in a couple of picks, Anthony, and then just take the best guy available.
Yeah, I mean, just look at some of the names that are still available that we probably didn't expect to get even this far, like a Mekhi Lemon, Monroe Freeling, Dylan Thieneman still available, Kedrick Falk, Omar Cooper Jr., Caleb Lomu. Like, there's quite a few names out there for the Eagles to kind of just sit there and pick and not have to necessarily trade away a pick and move up a couple spots or whatever it might be.
Would be happy about that. If you get your does not feel like the one that you would get from past history, but Howie surprised us every time. It's like, oh, he's not going to draft linebacker. Well, Jahad Campbell. Previous year, not going to happen with cornerback and Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. So maybe there's a safety happening. Kilo King with the 2 was asking, now who do we take? Ant-Man. All our guys are gone. Kind of answered that one early. So shout out to you for reading his mind.
Well, let's just say if you had to pick, as we have the Minnesota pick, by the way, if you had to take somebody right now, Anthony, if the Eagles were on the clock, and we're going to get the Minnesota one here in a second, who would you take?
If they were on the clock right now, I'd probably go with Mekhi Lemon. Like that's who I would lean towards, because I feel like they might lean towards Monroe Freeling because of the positional value if they really want an offensive tackle. But I think Mekhi Lemon is probably ranked ahead of him on their board. And not only that, he's going to fit a major need, assuming that A.J. Brown is traded, right? So Mekhi Lemon, they probably don't think he was going to be there to begin with. But now where, once again, the need meets the value, that would make a lot of sense for me for Philadelphia.
Okay, there you go. We have the Lions pick here at number 18. With the 18th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Caleb Banks, defensive tackle out of Florida. And your first DT is officially off the board here. And it's a big one. And let's just say that is literal, because he's 6'6" and 325 pounds. Extremely good motor, very long arms, batting down balls. I mean, talk about Jordan Davis was one of my comps. Chris Jones, another profile there as well, maybe a little bit smaller. The problem here is pad levels at defensive tackle. Jordan Davis experienced that early on. He figured it out this past year, Anthony. But we heard probably 2 D tackles in round 1. Banks was the one that probably went first, and here he goes at number 18.
Yeah, there were some questions about his injury and would he be healthy or what's going to happen there. There was an update earlier today regarding Caleb Banks' injury. It seems like he's going to be okay and good to go for the season. So now that they got kind of that green flag to go and pursue him, the Vikings are probably looking for a Jordan Davis kind of impact from him. I mean, like you mentioned, 6'6" and a quarter, 327 pounds, almost 11-inch hands. He's got some massive mitts on him, 35-inch arms. I mean, he tested really well for his size too. I mean, a guy that big jumping 32 inches in the vertical jump is pretty insane, and almost 10 feet in the broad jump. I mean, a really impressive athletic profile to go along with some dominant production at times on the field. I can see why the Vikings went in this direction. I don't necessarily think I would have with some of these names that are still available, but it's hard to doubt a defensive mind like Brian Flores.
That is true. I agree with you, though. I would not have selected him here. Just some of the other names available. More so kind of had like a second-round projection on him. Granted, with where the Vikings are at, they probably weren't going to get him in the second round. They would have had to trade up. So if they obviously liked him enough to say, hey, let's just pull the trigger. But that's interesting. Like, I mean, I see all the potential, right? Like, we all talk about it there, the athleticism, the testing, which is kind of funny too, because whenever he was testing at the combine, I think I texted you this, Anthony, or maybe we were having a conversation, but it was like, he's kind of surprising people at the combine, great testing and whatnot. And it's like compared next to Jordan Davis, and you bring that up, and then it's like, well, it's good, but it's not Jordan Davis level, because, JD's insane. But he's got a lot of ability or potential, as we say. So if he can, it could be a good pick for the Vikings. But to me, that one feels like maybe if I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. I feel like that might be the biggest reach so far we've had in the draft.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple different rankings up here, and I got a Pro Football Network, and he's by far, according to their rankings, he was around like 56 or so. So just
Wow.
the biggest
Okay,
gap.
yeah.
And there are some people that had him in the teens. There are some people but that just shows you such a wide range of a player that some people consider just a 2-down player. Like, what kind of impact do you have? What kind of value do you place on that type of impact?
Looks like we have the Carolina Panther pick. One more thought there on the pick by the Vikings. Can we get the defensive tackle to stand next to Kyler Murray for a photo? I'd be very curious to see the height difference there between Kyler Murray and a 6'6" defensive tackle.
It's going to be
Very
like
different.
It's going to be like that Jordan Mailata, Darren Sproles picture back.
Pretty
in
much.
Years ago.
All right, pick is in for Carolina. With the 19th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Panthers are selecting Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle from UGA. And if you thought the defensive tackle Banks was tall, Freeling's 6'7" and 310. He's massive, long-limbed, really good movement. Some people called him the dancing bear over there at UGA. He has done a fantastic job putting tape on, really film, of stopping speed rushers on the edge despite being that big, Anthony.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that you're talking about like traits, right? Nobody had along the offensive line had better traits in this class than Monroe Freeling. I mean, almost 6'8", 315 pounds. His combine was off the charts. But a team like the Panthers, who can kind of afford to wait a little bit, I feel like, and whether he starts right away or not, they can afford to take the lumps and let him kind of go out there. I think it makes sense for them. He had a near perfect relative athletic score, 9.99, which is up there with like Sonny Styles in this class. He checks all of the marks from that regard. Just there were questions about how many games he started. He was kind of like the Ty Simpson of offensive tackles. It was like, should he have come out? But he viewed himself like he was going to be a first-round pick. And as the process went on, as he performed at the Combine, he certainly proved that he was a first-round pick. I personally didn't like him as far as what I saw on the field drills at the Combine and things like that. His footwork was a little messy, and on tape, he kind of lunges forward a little bit too much. But he is relatively new to the position, but at the same time, his ceiling could be higher than any other offensive tackle in this draft. So at 19, I could see why the Panthers are taking that chance.
We got to trade up. The Eagles are trading up to 20.
Whoa, are they really?
The Cowboys.
Yeah. With
Whoa.
the Cowboys. Very surprising.
Okay.
Here. So trying to see what the trade is.
Whoa.
I've got the compensation.
Is on the clock.
Okay.
You do? What is it?
I'm sending it.
With Dallas?
Ooh, hold up here. Wow, this is very interesting.
The Eagles are getting 20 and a 7th-round pick. Cowboys are getting 23, 114, and 137. So two 4th-round picks.
Nothing crazy. Okay.
Can you text that just so I'm inputting it?
Yes, I got
you. Okay.
Do we know who it is yet? I cannot believe this. Philadelphia is on the clock.
My guess would be Mekhi Lemon, but that's just throwing it out there.
We'll see.
We don't know who it is yet.
We'll see.
We have
Wow.
Okay.
And with a division team like that's I know they did it for Smitty, but
Yeah.
that's
Sorry,
always
I'm trying to get
surprising.
this to you.
There you
All
go.
right, let's get Philadelphia on the clock now. Philly has traded up. Oh my goodness, who are they going to take? There's the compensation.
114,
Okay.
137.
Getting it in right now so people can see it. Philadelphia is on the clock. They obviously did not want to wait any longer. Remember, like they just said, the Dallas Cowboys, last time they traded was 2021, and that was for Devontae Smith. Are they going to do a similar selection here for another wide receiver? We still wait on who it is. We don't know who it is yet.
There's the trade. Official compensation.
There's the official trade. You see it right there. So Philadelphia gives up 144 and 137. We confirm that's both of their 4th-round draft picks. They get a 7th-rounder back, and they move from 23 up to 20 and are officially on the clock here. We'll see what Philadelphia wants to do. Let me know when we have it. We do not yet. Oh, man. I hope it's...
if it's Lemon, like, again...
I hope it's Lemon. I hope it's Lemon.
We've already thought this way, but that, like, AJ's gone. It's for sure.
Yep.
Like, you guarantee
sure.
there's a trade will be done June 2nd, and it'll be official. But, man, this is...
We still don't
Did
know
not
who it is.
expect to trade up with the
Philadelphia has
Cowboys.
traded up. Birds are on the clock. Oh, my goodness. Who's it going to be? Who's it going to be?
So here's their updated selections, too, by the way.
The
So
only other
people
wild
look
card, sorry, I would throw out there
Yep.
is Keldrick Falk. Is another name that they could make
Okay.
sense for,
yep.
but they're leaping the Steelers, right? Or potentially another team in this scenario,
Yeah.
depending. We don't really know. But say they're leaping the Steelers. That's a team that could be eyeing a wide receiver, right? So that's why I immediately go to Mekhi Lemon, but we'll obviously see here in a couple seconds, hopefully.
There's been some rumblings that they like Mekhi Lemon here.
Could it be?
We still don't know who it
Matt
is.
with a 2 in the meantime. So AJ going to show
I got
his
it, I got
excellence,
it, I got
announce
it.
the pick.
All
We
right,
will.
We have it. All right, we have it. Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Wow, this is...
Wow. Wow. We're ready. We're ready. Oh,
this
my goodness.
Is interesting here.
Are you ready? Wow. Okay.
Tells
With
you everything.
the 20th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Philadelphia Eagles select Mekhi Lemon, wide receiver out of USC. This is huge. Holy cow. Some people said he was the best receiver in this draft. I know that's, we can make that Philadelphia Eagle fans are excited, but they officially go wide receiver. My comp was Amon-Ra St. Brown, guys. Over the middle, run after the catch, physical receiver, 6 foot, 190-pound junior. What do you think, Anthony? Philadelphia goes receiver, and this fully sends A.J. Brown out of the Philadelphia Eagle uniform, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way that they could pitch A.J. Brown and stick around in Philadelphia, but you have a legitimate starting wide receiver to now pair with Devontae Smith. And I know there are questions about his size at 5'11", 195, but just look at the production on the field, especially envisioning him in a Sean Mannion offense that'll kind of have those Sean McVay principles where a lot of stuff after the catch, you can design these touches to him on screens or even handoffs. He can make things happen both before the catch, after the catch. I think he was criticized a little bit too much for his demeanor at the combine with the press conference and things like that, but there's no disputing the production. Almost 80 catches, almost 1,200 yards, 11 touchdowns last season. He has the electric game-breaking speed, but also the footwork to just get open and create these windows for a guy like Jalen Hurts. So a great pick for the Eagles, especially in the post-A.J. Brown era in Philadelphia.
I got to take it back, guys, because it's the Eagles and making the selection. And, it's this might be the cleanest pick of the draft.
Okay.
When all is said and done, because it's
There you
very
go.
clean to what happens here next. Shout out to Dude Wipes, sponsor of this stream as well. Click the link in the description. Get your access there. Sold to Amazon and retailers nationwide. Shout out to them for this. And again, it's clear cut. It's obvious. It's evident, as we were just saying. Like AJ Brown's future. We said this all the way leading up to the draft, but it's like for all those naysayers going, oh, well, AJ Brown's gonna stay here. There's no way. There's just no way that you say, oh, we're gonna go ahead and draft a first round pick. And by the way, we trade up, even though it's a little bit. Now you don't have to give up a lot, but you still trade up to get a receiver.
Wow.
And then AJ Brown's gonna stick around. Like that is for sure. He's gone. You're trading him. And Anthony, I think you tweeted this out before the draft even started, but it helps to trade up if you know you're going to have extra compensation as well, kind of as you're mentioning here also. But there's so many things with this. I like the selection. Absolutely. Great route running, especially in this scheme of a Sean Mannion, what they could do with Mekhi Lemon. You got Smitty, who's presumably going to take on an even bigger role as we all expect. And maybe I've seen the JSN, like, oh, he's going to have those numbers. Who knows? But like he's capable of it. We've seen Smitty be able to, he's a former Heisman winner, so obviously. But yeah, the shockwaves, everything else that just happened from this selection here, for anyone that was out there doubting, it is clear cut what is about to happen.
Unbelievable. Lemon. And let's just say, we had got some rumblings that they liked Lemon, that Lemon was one of the guys that they really, really liked. And I think a lot of people thought he would be gone to the Rams at 13. That was something we heard the past couple of days. To me, I really wanted him. I just didn't think he was that possible. And now that Philadelphia's gotten him, it's crazy. Crazy. Unbelievable.
Make the move.
Now, this is now back-to-back years where Mekhi Lemon, I believe, is in attendance at the draft, right? We're not obviously watching the broadcast because we got our own going on. But, this is now back-to-back years where they got a player that was in attendance in the draft that nobody expected to fall to the Eagles or within their range. And now Howie Roseman has been able to maneuver both times. It took a small little trade up, but he got Jahad Campbell last year, Mekhi Lemon this year, a player that I honestly didn't put my credence in. I put 10 mock drafts out there. Not a single one had them taking Mekhi Lemon because I just didn't think he was going to be there, right? Earlier in the process, he was considered like a top 10 pick. Most of the mock drafts that you saw from all the experts, he wasn't available at this point. He was most likely gone by the Rams at 13. They obviously went with the quarterback, and that just had ripple effects down this whole thing, and Howie Roseman was there to kind of take advantage of it all.
It's a really good point, too, because you're right. Like, you'd seen a few of Jordan Tyson, but that was kind of injury concerns. Maybe he falls. Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper Jr. Like, those were kind of the bigger names for wide receiver. And Mekhi Lemon, as you said, was earlier in those mock drafts. So for him to fall and get there at that point, shout out to 8Ks with the 5, says Howie needs to, and this was earlier, so called it, by the way, this is pretty legit, Howie needs to trade with Carolina for Mekhi Lemon. So it was one selection early, but did get it correct. So shout out to you for that one. Also, Scotty with the 2 says trade 23 to Las Vegas and our second for Crosby in a second. Scott was as incorrect as 8Ks was right, unfortunately, but did get that one. Also, shout out to Ryan for the 5. How would you guys feel about Avion Terrell? I hope we go safety. Would like to see this guy play for us, though his family is pretty cool. His dad is a former coworker. Look at there.
There you go.
Well, not going to as of right now, unless something crazy happens. But just the wild scenario of this happening. Obviously, what happens beyond this with AJ. Rich with a 5 also. How we should trade 2 firsts for Garrett if possible. Trade AJ away, get a first back next year. What are your thoughts on this? Officially, I mean, not going to happen, obviously, but the Myles Garrett hypotheticals never go away. Got hit drip with 5.
Oh God, I was gonna say the Myles Garrett topic. I feel like Myles Garrett's gonna be 36 years old in Cleveland, and we're still gonna be hearing about is Howie Roseman gonna trade for him? He had 15 sacks last season, right? So it's gonna be the new Justin Simmons story that who knows if it'll just ever happen.
Always, every single year. Hit drip with a 5. Boston to the Eagles, praying for that, and then get rid of Crybaby Brown. So did get the receiver, not Denzel Boston.
Did get the receiver.
Did get the receiver. Matty Ice.
Can we just say one thing about Mekhi Lemon quickly? He had 1 drop this past year at USC. We got 1 drop. All the A.J. Brown drops, especially in crunch time the past couple of games or the end of the season games, this guy had 1 the entire season at USC. And the run after the catch and the over-the-middle ability. What were we begging for this past year? Throw the ball over the middle. They bring in Sean Mannion, who does just that, and what do? They get Sean Mannion, a guy who can absolutely catch the football in traffic over the middle. I keep saying Amon-Ra St. Brown. That was my comp for this guy, and I really didn't think Philadelphia could get him to fall.
And you're still giving
one last thing on the Eagles kind of slant of all of this is just, if you look at the wide receivers that they brought in now, right, in like a post, once again, A.J. Brown world with Sean Mannion running the offense, Devontae Smith, phenomenal fit for that kind of offense, right? We already know he would fit in any offense, but especially in an offense predicated on these shorter routes, yards after the catch, things like that, he fits well. Dontavian Wicks, another guy that's really good at getting open early in routes with his releases. And now Mekhi Lemon, probably the best in this draft class at doing so, right? So 3 phenomenal fits for the offense where there were questions last year. Jimmy Kempski of the Philly Voice put out a great article about A.J. Brown, and were there concerns about like his ability to separate and the injuries, and was that a question where for these 3 guys that they're projected starters right now, even Hollywood Brown, if you want to lump him into there, all 4 are great in the short area game and getting open quickly, and now the Eagles suddenly have a ton of weapons at wide receiver to work with.
And that's what I was going to bring up. That's a great point. I was going to say you're taking pressure off of Mekhi Lemon as well because you have these other guys, right? So you're obviously the potential and what you're trying to be able to get from him in the long run, and certainly even in his rookie season. But it's not like you say, hey, we traded away AJ and here you go, Mekhi, we need you to get 1,000 yards receiving. Like, I think he certainly can, but you also look at Dontavian Wicks and Hollywood Brown, as you mentioned, you have some guys that can kind of pick up the slack. So overall, should be good. Now, questioning tight end wise, can they add to that? We would hope so. Matty Ice with a 2, 23rd, and a couple picks for Garrett or Grenard. See, there you go. To keep some of those hypotheticals and hope coming on. But can we have a moment of silence for A.J. Brown from James with a 10?
I think we should. Let's just be very clear that we all know that A.J. Brown was gone. I mean, everyone who wasn't denying reality knew that A.J. Brown was gone. They will get a 2027 or 2028 first-round draft pick after June 1st, and now it's very clear. Clearly, they had a handshake deal under the table with New England or somebody else, and now it's officially official. Okay, we got to move back over to the fact that we have the pick for the where are we? Pittsburgh right now. Sorry, I am ready when you are. Are we ready? Okay, here we go. With the 21st pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Max Ihanachor, offensive lineman, and they get their offensive lineman to protect, I guess it's going to be Aaron Rodgers. Do we know who it is, Anthony?
Yeah, I mean, I would assume once they hired Mike McCarthy that Aaron Rodgers would be back, but it seems like they haven't heard from him yet. But regardless, ironically, Max Ihanachor is a guy that I mocked to the Eagles in my final mock draft. I think he's once we saw this run on offensive tackles with Blake Miller going, Monroe Freeland going, he was kind of that next guy in line. And the Steelers have needed some stability at that position. And Hanachor, phenomenal kind of background coming to America later in his teens and then picking up football even later, where he played basketball and soccer. Those were his sports. And then his coach was like, listen, you're like 6'6", 300 pounds. Maybe you should give football a try. And walked on, transferred. They've been history ever since. Actually had phenomenal rep with David Bailey, which you see here in the highlights. And that was kind of a big test for him because Arizona State didn't play a ton of top edge rushers. But Max Hanachor has put a lot of good stuff on tape. He's considered more of a raw prospect because of how late he started playing the game. But I think he's a lot more polished than people might be giving him credit for as well.
Little highlight of putting hands on Mike Vrabel. We won't go there. He's got a lot of potential. I like
not
the
the only
athleticism.
one.
So there's been a few of those. I love the potential for Max Hanachor. That was one of the guys that we were talking about a number of times of like, hey, could the Eagles get him? Is he on the radar? You know, it maybe even depending on where the NFL other teams view him. And it's interesting because he goes at 21. So obviously the Eagles had a chance because they traded up, but filling more of the need of wide receiver. Not to say that they wouldn't get an offensive lineman. I'll be curious, though, like with the run of offensive linemen and knowing that it's top heavy, we've gotten those rumblings, I think, before the draft of like the Eagles might want to trade into the first round and make another selection here. They've gotten their receiver now. Like, do they try to trade up and get an offensive line? Because if they don't, it's so top heavy that then you're like, well, who do you take? Who do you go after? But there's so many guys that have already been taken as well. Then you can make the case of like, I don't know, if they just not taken. Are they not taking a swing tackle or a guard? I know Brian Baldinger said, I think on the PHLY show before the draft that, you know, Lane Johnson's replacement is not in this draft. Like he didn't believe that. So it will be interesting, but Steelers get a Hanachor.
There you go. Hanachor's off the board. That puts the Los Angeles Chargers on the clock at 22. We don't know that pick yet here. I'm still kind of just thinking about Makai Lemon right now. Oh, man. What was it? Was it 12 receiving touchdowns last year? Over 1,000 yards at USC?
Yeah.
My goodness.
Yep. And for his career, you mentioned the one drop last season. His career drop rate is 2.8% for career.
That's crazy.
Like
that's crazy.
Pretty good hands. Not too bad.
Crazy.
Scott with a 2, though, mentioning here Johnny Wilson for big body outside receiver. Not giving up on Johnny. It's a very, very competitive receiver room, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves with even thinking that Johnny Wilson's a lock for a roster spot, given all the wide receivers that they've brought in so far, right? With Wicks and now obviously Lemon, and you got Elijah Moore, Hollywood Brown. So we'll see. He fits a role that a lot of these other guys don't, but we'll see how Sean Mannion and everybody else values him.
A shout out to Triple H with the terrible pick. You have a gigantic hole at free safety, and you need to replace your right guard desperately. Wide receiver room is packed. I trust Howie, but... and leaving it with that. But again,
I mean, listen,
this tells you he's already guaranteed to agree to trade A.J. Brown. It's happening. So you're going to get a weapon. I mean, you're not wrong. Like, he's not wrong in that assessment there, right? Like, you right guard, swing tackle, safety, like those are all need. Tight end we can throw in there as well. But if you know that you're about to lose out on a perennial Pro Bowl, almost all pro receiver, and you got a new offensive coordinator here, I don't mind necessarily getting a skill weapon. It's just, yes, address those other areas throughout the rest of the draft.
Well, and there's still a lot of draft left, and if they go in and get, the Toledo safety early in round 2, we're going to all feel pretty happy about that. But, I mean, let's just be very clear. They've added a lot of receivers that Anthony touched on. There's no guarantee any of them, including Dontavian Wicks, is going to be a true number 2, right? And if you lose A.J. Brown and it becomes Devontae Smith and a bunch of average players, that's a massive drop in terms of how the defenders play or the defenses play you and what you have to do to get Smitty open if he's getting double teamed a lot. So I think that Howie looked at this and said, I have to make sure that we get one-on-one opportunities across the board for all of my receivers. Remember, they still have Dallas Goedert. They still have Saquon Barkley. They still have, technically, for this year, Lane Johnson, the rest of the offensive line. Lemon is an option now to make sure that the drop-off when you lose a top 3 receiver like A.J. Brown, which they are going to do, is not as big as people were thinking it possibly could be. Charger pick is in right now. Sorry.
No, you're good. It also just felt like, and I said it at the time when he was still there after the Rams pick, that if he was there for the Eagles, that it was a point where need also meant value. It wasn't like they were reaching over someone like a Dylan Thieneman. If you look at basically any consensus rankings, they all have Makai Lemon as a higher rated prospect over a guy at safety, over or a Caleb Lomwe if you want to push him into guard, and as regards to that last question. So I think it was just a kind of a perfect spot where fit, need, it all met the value and the best player on the board, right? It wasn't like the Eagles were making a massive reach like a Jalen Reagor again and kind of just going for a specific profile. I think Mekhi Lemon was the best player on their board. He just happens to also play a position that A.J. Brown plays, right? And he's leaving and they have to fill that void. So it was a good move overall for the Eagles. And I think people might be questioning it a little bit too much. And there's still 6 more rounds, right? And there's still free agency. And they have Tyler Steen at right guard. They have a Marcus Epps kind of setting the floor at that second safety spot next to Drew Makuba, right? So there's still time. They're going to sign players after the draft as well. So don't panic just yet after one pick.
There you go. And we obviously are showing the Eagle picks on your screen right now. 54 becomes available. And they should have 2 first-round draft picks next year. That seems to be the overall option. We have the Charger pick, by the way. We can go ahead and do that one here. That one just popped up at 22 overall. We'll get that one ready to go. But I think we're a little bit shell-shocked by the Lemon pick, which I'm still excited about. With the 22nd overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Akeem Messiador, pass rusher out of Miami. And so there is your second pass rusher to go ahead and come off the board. Very high energy was my big thing on him. Has a bunch of different moves on the outside. Non-stop motor, really good, and even a bit of a slide inside for a little bit of 3 technique there, Anthony, on pass rush downs and sort of a NASCAR package.
Yeah, he's a player that can do it all as far as on the field. Really not a ton of questions. Some people wanted to criticize his run defense, but he was able to rush the passer and make a huge impact on that Miami front for all season long, right? Him and Ruben Bain were the key cogs on that defense, and you just saw it as the season went along. The only thing is, the big question is his age, right? He's going to be a 25-year-old rookie, which
it's crazy.
As I talked about early with Caden Proctor, who's a younger player in this draft, you're going to see some guys that are 24, 25 because of the impact of the NAL and because of that COVID year, right? This is kind of the last year that we'll see the impact of that COVID year, but a much older player, but just he was projected to go maybe the top 10, top 15. As the process has kind of played out, he's fallen a little bit lower, and now the Chargers are able to scoop him for what I think is a good value at 22 overall.
All right, so there goes Messiador. Sorry, go ahead, Josh.
No, solid pickup. Got him at 22. Interesting. His player comp from a couple different analysts was Jonathan Grenard for a player comp. So
could also be coming later tonight.
Possibility for trades.
Here's a little thing for you, Thomas, because you mentioned it yourself. John Clark of NBC Philadelphia said Mekhi Lemon has said he modeled his game after Amon-Ra St. Brown.
It's Amon-Ra St. Brown. That is the comp. And Amon-Ra St. Brown is a 100-catch-a-year guy. 100-catch-a-year guy. So I'm super. I mean, when you think about Devontae Smith and Amon-Ra St. Brown, right, and we're projecting here, but you imagine those two players trying to defend and an offense that utilizes the middle of the field and takes advantage of their route running, right? Smitty has some of the best route running in the National Football League, and yet didn't really see a lot of it the past year underneath whoever was calling plays, whoever actually was running the offense. But yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Dallas Cowboys. So this would have been the Eagle pick. Dallas is back on the clock here. They obviously already took Caleb Downs. How will they double dip here in round 1 as we are less than 10 picks away from ending this one at 10:14 p.m. Eastern time. So we are rolling right through here for done by 11, maybe? It might be a little later than 11. We'll see. We'll see how fast these people want to go ahead and go as bedtime is going to be approaching quickly. But we have to stay awake, obviously, for Philadelphia and obviously other teams. But Philly trading back into round 1 if they love somebody. Dylan Thieneman is still on the board right now. Very interesting, and we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, will the Cowboys double dip at safety? I don't know about that.
That would be.
I mean,
could you?
Jermon McCoy from Tennessee is still there. I mean, the edge. They've been linked to quite a few edges at 20, and now that they've moved back, Keldrick Falk and Malachi Lawrence are both still there. So maybe one of those is the pick, but they have probably a decent amount of options at 23 on their board.
As you can see,
Cowboy pick is in, by the way.
Wouldn't be in the way. We got the pick. Do we know who it is, or just we have the pick?
No, we just have the pick.
Yeah, there's the big board. As Anthony said, several different options or names. It would be surprising. I mean, if they went double dip at safety, it's good. I mean, good talent, obviously, Thieneman or Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. But yeah, if they were like, hey, let's just get a second one as well. I have 2 rookies at that spot.
Hey, corner, Avion Terrell still on the board. Could be a little early, but if you talk about maybe the best corners that are still available, there's another one. I'm forgetting his name right now, but there's a second cornerback who's still potentially on the board. with Delane gone at 6, but I think
Jamon
Dallas
McCoy's
probably
probably the top one available.
McCoy's the other one, yes. Could they go receiver here? That would be a question. Obviously, they trade with Philadelphia and let Lemon leave. There was all those reports about them trading Pickens 2 hours ago and taking Jordan Tyson in the top 10. Obviously, it didn't happen, but I would be surprised if this is an Omar Cooper Jr. or one of the other receivers. I feel like Dallas goes defense, but we don't know who it is yet.
One last thing on Lemon is shout out to my guy David. He just sent me a text saying that the Eagles now have 2 Biletnikoff Award winners as the nation's top wide receiver. So Devontae Smith won it once, and now Mekhi Lemon was the one that won it last year.
How about
and
that?
we do
Very
have Dallas's pick.
Okay.
Let's get it.
And I can give myself a little bit of a pat on the back with this one.
Okay, we have the Cowboy pick. We're ready to roll there. Let me make sure that I have it. This is an interesting one. Okay. Make sure. Okay, I have it. Oop, hang on. Okay, I think I have this one. Yes. Okay, with the 23rd overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Dallas Cowboys select Malachi Lawrence, wide receiver, out of UCF here, guys. And we just talked about receiver, and yet
I know
Edge.
Oh, sorry,
He's an edge rusher.
Edge rusher. I have the wrong one. Okay, never mind. Sorry, I was shocked there. Edge rusher out of UCF. That makes a lot more sense than wide receiver. I was a little confused there. We do not have a highlight for him because this is a reach. Because this is a reach over Keldrick Falk, huh? That's interesting.
Yeah, I personally think this was a reasonable range for Malachi Lawrence. There were even some mock drafts that had the Eagles themselves kind of taking him in this range and a potential trade back. But he's the type of player that once the combine came along, he was probably considered like a day 2 pick, but he had that kind of Nolan Smith ascension where it's like, all right, this guy might be like, we might be a legitimate first round pick. I mean, 6'4", 250 pounds. So like checks those 2 boxes on the edge, right? But then he came out and ran a 4.52 in the 40-yard dash. He had a 40-inch vertical jump. He jumped almost 11 feet on the broad jump, right? Those are all 94th percentile or higher, right? So they're betting on a player and his traits kind of performing and going forward. There was production on the field, not maybe the type of production that you would love to see from a first-round pick. You would want to see a little bit more consistency from him, but the flashes he has shown, I felt like if there was a team that would take a chance on him, Dallas made sense in the days leading up to the draft. There were several people saying Dallas with Malachi Lawrence at 20 was a team to watch for, and now they were able to move back and still get their guy who's been a reported target for a few days here.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
A freak athlete. Had him in the draft guide for the second round projections, but as you said, Anthony, it's like, you look at some guys that it's just too difficult to pass up. Obviously, for the big board, he's much lower, so it's a reach from just the general consensus. But if he can pan out with the physical ability, then it could be worth it. But again, you see the Dallas double dipping in the sense of defense, not safety, but give Christian Parker another defensive guy to work with. So there you go.
All right, that puts the Cleveland Browns back on the clock here at 24. I wonder what Cleveland wants to do here. It could be very interesting. Well, they already have the pick in, by the way, so they obviously knew who that was. So that puts Chicago on the clock at 25. We don't know who the Brown pick is at 24, but this is their second of those 2 first-round draft picks, and we will see if we have if we will have this here quickly.
They hate us. We don't care with a 5 while we're waiting on that one. It says, I met Eagles VP of player personnel at work, and he told me sorry about the Jalen Reagor pick. It was his bad. LOL. Go Birds.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
No way.
I feel like I feel like I wouldn't admit that if it was my bad. I don't know if I would
true.
say that publicly.
Just take it with you to the grave. It's like, I don't know. I don't know whose choice that was. Douglas with the 5. Appreciate that. Didn't see a comment. We do appreciate the support. Edgar with a 5 as well. What do the Eagles do with all those wide receivers? Trade for a tight end or offensive lineman? ? I'd like to hear your opinion on this.
I feel like they will take an offensive lineman at some point. That seems to be the consensus now. Or they can wait, right? We talked about Brian Baldinger saying that they did not he didn't think that there was the Lane Johnson replacement in this draft. They don't have to replace Lane Johnson this year because he is going to be out, whether he's healthy or not. And they re-signed Fred Johnson. So they don't technically have to go with a high pick for offensive line. We do have the Brown pick now with the 24th overall pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The Cleveland Browns have selected Casey Concepcion, wide receiver out of Texas A&M. And there's the next receiver off the board, and it's Concepcion, who, Anthony, by the way, did write a very interesting letter to all NFL teams, basically saying he's the best player in this draft. Electric playmaker is what I have, and my Jalen Waddle comparison, I think, is pretty darn good here. Size concerns for a full-time outside guy, probably slot only the next level, but a really, really explosive player in the open field.
Yeah, I mean, he's just such a fun player to watch, where it's another guy you just get the ball in his hands and then let him kind of work. He can either receiver, he's an elite returner as well, so he can impact the game on special teams. But you think of a team like Cleveland that doesn't have a ton of weapons to work with. Concepcion is a guy where you can kind of just manufacture easy touches and easy throws for whoever the quarterback is, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, whoever it might be, Deshaun Watson. So regardless of who's playing quarterback, he's a guy that you could just get the ball to him either behind the line of scrimmage or a 5-yard slant, and he can take it to the house. It's just how explosive he is. And like you mentioned, the article that came out, he spoke about he has like a speech impediment and how like, about his toughness and things like that. Like, he has the right mindset to succeed in the NFL, and I think the Browns may have gotten a kind of a steal at this point in the draft here at 24.
Looky there, little offensive weapon. Seen a Doug Baldwin comparison as well. The kind of an instinctual wide receiver, some good playmaking ability. Now that may be also a shout out to Travis, if Travis is watching, fellow Aggie. So from some of the other guys that are watching there, but was excited to see. I was mentioning to him that I felt like KC might go in the first round. He was saying no, not so much. Didn't feel like there would be a single Aggie, let alone Cassius Howell or KC Concepcion. But there you go. I had to say I told you so, but KC goes in the first round to the Browns.
There you go.
Not the best spot for a player, but we'll see. They could turn things around. You got Harold Fannin now and KC for Shedeur to throw to. Maybe so.
You're gonna need a quarterback. Who is it? Is it Watson or is it Pro Bowler Shedeur Sanders? We'll see. We'll see what happens here.
First year Pro Bowler. Come on now.
First year Pro Bowler. I mean, hey, it's rare to do it. Okay, so 25. That puts the Bears on the clock right now, and we are getting to the divisional round playoff teams. Obviously, the Browns traded that pick away, but we are sitting here with the Cleveland Browns at 25. Buffalo up next at 26. As we await this pick right now. Let's do best players available while we wait to see what Chicago does. Anthony, your best players available right now as we wait for Chicago.
Yeah, I still think, I mean, I know nothing about the medical side of things, so it's kind of tough from that standpoint, but Jermod McCoy, and then there's a big drop-off on my board as far as the best players available, the cornerback from Tennessee, but I don't think the Bears might be going in that direction. They've invested in the position this offseason already and probably like the guys that they have there, but who I would have my eyes on for the Bears specifically is probably Dylan Thieneman or Keldrick Falk, right? Especially Keldrick Falk. It feels like they need a little bit more juice up front, and he's that kind of scheme versatile where he can align all over the defensive front, and his athletic profile, his age, he's one of the youngest players in the draft. I feel like Keldrick Falk, Peter Woods, one of the top interior defensive linemen. I know Caleb Bang here, but some people thought Peter Woods was the better interior defensive lineman. So plenty of options for Chicago on a defense that could need to be reloaded in several different parts of their defense.
Chicago went offense with their first 3 picks last year in Loveland, Burden, and then the offensive tackle Malman there at 57. And so I agree. Secondary, they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson, obviously going to the Buffalo Bills, who are up next, by the way. Not that many picks. You see 25, 57, 60, 89, and then some later rounders as well. But Chicago is on the clock, and what's expected to be a really important year coming up here for the Bears as you're in that 5-year window, right? We got Caleb Williams on a rookie contract, and you had a lot of wins and a lot of success in the fourth quarter this past year. They need to capitalize on that. And also a team that Philadelphia plays this year. They'll be in Chicago at some point.
Could be a fun
Let's
trip
see.
to make for those that are trying to go out there.
Fun trip to make. Could be. Could be.
Cranky with a 5, real quick. Can't wait to see Smitty's numbers. Go Birds. 100%. If he's getting even more focus, Smitty's going to be.
I thought you were going to say
insane.
100 receptions.
It's 100 easily, right? Like, I mean, it's he hasn't had. It's kind of surprising, and then in a way, it's not because he's had AJ Brown and there's been like the target share and whatnot. But like the fact that he doesn't have an All Pro, like it has to be this year that he has an All Pro. Like it just, I mean, he's got the talent and ability. It's just like if you give him enough targets. So if he stays healthy. Feels like it. Andrew with the 10. Appreciate that. Great pick, but just curious. Week 1, Smith at the Z, Lemon in the slot, and I guess Wicks as your X. Possibly so, as it looks right now.
I think we're going to see a lot of interchangeable parts on that. Like you could use all of those guys anywhere. So that's going to be kind of the fun part about it. It's not going to be an offense where this guy stays on this side of the field, this guy stays on that side of the field. They're going to be lining up and kind of changing the way that the offense looks.
Which would be fun.
There you go.
Hard for defenses to plan against.
Bears pick is officially in. We don't know who it is yet, but let's wait and see what's going to happen here with
Asher,
the Bears.
With the 5, while we're waiting on that.
Sorry.
Lemon better be sweet, because if not, I'll be bitter. Good one.
Other
That's
comps
pretty good.
I've seen Julian Edelman and I've seen Steve Smith, by the way, or some other possible comps there. Yeah. Edelman feels a little slow in my opinion. Lemon's definitely faster than Julian Edelman, but I like the Steve Smith comp.
Yeah, I was gonna say the Steve Smith.
That's not a bad one overall.
I mean, let's just be honest. If we get a Steve Smith out of Michaela, like, yes, please, we will absolutely be happy with that. Isaiah with a 5. Lemon is a great pick. See, there, it's a little polarizing on both sides, but Lemon is a great pick. I think they should move Johnny Wilson to tight end. We've seen that comment a lot because of his size, and he's a great blocker.
If you're over 6'5" in Philadelphia, every single year they're going to tell you to move to tight end. It's just what they do. We have the Bear pick, by the way. We're ready to roll on that one. 25 overall.
All right, let's get this one ready. I'll get back to the super chats here in a sec. Let's get this one here. And I think Anthony called one of these, maybe.
I think he did.
You throw enough names out there, some sticks.
Yeah, right. With the 25th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Chicago Bears select Dylan Thieneman, safety out of Oregon. And Eagle fans all with a collective groan. Not that we were going to have a shot at him unless we traded back up. But, I mean, some people thought he was going to be the best safety in this draft if Caleb Downs didn't exist. That seems pretty darn fair. High-volume tackler, really good range. They call him a football magnet. He always seems to be near the football with really good ball skills. Can be a little over-aggressive in run support, Anthony, but a very good safety and a really great replacement for losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson.
Yeah, he's another safety that can kind of do it all, right? He's done it all at multiple schools, and I think he surprised a lot of people at the Combine with his athletic testing, too, which kind of just... He was already pretty much a near-flawless prospect on film, but the performance he had at the Combine cemented him as a first-round pick. I mean, a 4.35 in the 40-yard dash, 41-inch vertical jump, a 10-foot 5-inch broad jump. Those are all 80th percentile or better. The first two are super elite for the position. So Dylan Thieneman's a player that many Eagles fans had their eyes on as they look for the next exciting white, but he lands in Chicago on a team that could use some help at safety, but he's going to be a game changer on that back end of that defense in Chicago.
It's a solid pick. It's a good one there. We were wanting it as a potential, as you said, not probably gonna happen at that one. Justin Reed was one that got thrown out. I know we talked about that a couple times as we were doing some videos or some overviews of him, but just kind of like an extra coach on the field. You know, they're just like, oh, how great would that be for a Fangio scheme? His play recognition like crazy. I think someone else had a Javon Holland comp as well. So a couple of different potentials there, but you can't coach speed. I mean, 4.35, it speaks for itself. So you get that, the interceptions, the production. It's a solid pickup for Chicago.
Okay, we have some news here. We have a trade that has just come in as the Buffalo Bills are moving out of 26, and the Houston Texans are coming up. I think this could be. Well, actually, I'm curious who this is going to be for. So we have the trade details. Texans get 26 and 91 overall. Buffalo gets 28, 69, and 167. So the Bills go back 2 spots. They pick up an additional third-round draft pick, or a better third-round draft pick, I should say, and then also an additional later-round pick there as well. We'll get that thrown up on the screen here whenever you're ready, Josh. So we have the official trade, but now it is the Houston Texans who are on the clock here at pick 26. I mean, the Buffalo Bills have to wait here a couple of more selections to go ahead and get on the board. San Francisco will be on the clock next once Houston is officially done and we get that trade up there. There it is. So here on your screen, you're seeing the Bills are getting 28, 69, and 167. The Texans are getting 26 and 91 overall as we have our first trade up in what feels like a little bit of time. Philly to 20, and then the Texans up to 25, Anthony. Sorry,
yeah, so
26.
The Texans are now leaping the Niners, right? So that's a team that you think like, okay, what were the Niners potentially looking for? Why are the Texans trying to go over them, right? And my mind immediately goes to offensive tackle, right? Because Trent Williams, I know they brought him back, but he's not getting any younger, right? So maybe the 49ers were eyeing Caleb Blamu there, and that was kind of their target. And the Texans, who feels like they always need help along the offensive line. I know they made some changes this season, but
seem to
Blum
always
was a guy
trade
that some
him
people
away
think,
too.
yeah, they find the good ones and then they let them go. So who knows what's going on with poor CJ Stroud down there in Houston. But Caleb Blum was a player that some people think is better inside a guard, right? So if you're viewing him as potentially a player that can play 4 different positions, maybe that's who Houston's jumping up for here.
Okay, so there's your picks again, what the
goes.
swap is. So Houston is on the clock. They're just showing us the Thieneman pick here from the Chicago Bears. And let's just be clear. Tight end and safety for Philadelphia were the other two positions a lot of people think they need to go ahead and make, and I would agree. And yet, this is a very deep safety and tight end draft. It feels like Philly could come up in round 2 and get Emmanuel McNeil-Warren, let's just say that, and then still get a tight end like a Michael Trigg later on in the draft, potentially. I mean, if you got all 3 of those guys, I think Philadelphia's got to feel pretty darn good, as we do have the pick here from the Texans.
Okay.
Let me make sure that I have that. Let's see.
And then
yes.
Get back to the super chats here in a second.
All right, yeah, we do have the Texan ones. The Texans pick is in, and that means San Francisco's going to go ahead and hop on the clock. With the 26th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select Kalen Rutledge, guard out of Georgia Tech. And we've officially ended, Anthony, the first-round draft pick drought for Georgia Tech as they get a guard here to go. And you did predict offensive line, and we get a guard there for C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, maybe not the offensive tackle or offensive lineman that I expected, but Keelan Rutledge is a guy that's been rising throughout the process. I mean, you watch his tape. He's such a fun player to watch. You want to talk about being physical and playing to the whistle. That's what Rutledge is also about. He's an immediate day one starter. I feel like at guard, he has the play personality that most teams want in the NFL right now, but he's not like a big, tough guy that's just lugging around out there, right? He still has the athleticism to get to the second level and get his hands on players. And he showed that at the combine with an impressive performance that earned him a relative athletic score of 9.53. So if anybody thought he was a slouch on tape or doubted his profile because he's a guard, that's not the case with Rutledge. And I feel like the Texans probably had a feeling that San Fran was eyeing an offensive lineman. They just wanted to make sure it wasn't their guy and got ahead of him and got Rutledge here at that spot.
We don't have any highlights on Rutledge, unfortunately, because
we have another trade
down on the board. But yeah, I was
another
say,
trade.
We got a quick trade that came in.
Okay, I don't see it. What do we got? What's the trade here? So that means it's not going to be San Francisco picking. We officially have Miami is coming up. Okay, so they go from 30. That was the Waddle trade with Denver, and Miami has moved up to 27. We'll see what the exact details are of that pick. But now,
so it's 30 and 90 to San Francisco in exchange for 27 and 138 are the terms for the trade.
That sounds about right. Yep. It's what happens at the end of round 1, though, guys, right? I mean, teams, when, is this guy valued as a first rounder? Is this guy valued as a second rounder? If you think he's a first rounder, you want to trade up and make sure that you get him. And so Miami has somebody in mind. And again, we don't know what the Dolphins exactly want. We know they have a lot of picks to go ahead and do what they want to do with them. So there is obviously your pick down below us on the screen there. 27 and 138 for, what is that, 90 and 30, as I have to squint there to see it on my tiny little screen. But the Dolphins are back on the clock after making a pick a while ago. Can we show the draft board, Josh, as we look here, just kind of go through who has been taken and give us a little refresher on how we got to pick 27 right now and the Miami Dolphins, because the Dolphins picked a long time ago, and it was offensive line.
Yep. Let's get that one pulled up here.
There you go. And so obviously here was your top 8. Let's go look at 10 through 15. And remembering where we were. There goes Caden Proctor at 12. Downs to the Dallas Cowboys at 11. Ty Simpson, the big shocker of round 1. Bain Falls Sadiq, 16 to the Jets. And then a little run there on big boys up front with Blake Miller, Caleb Banks, Monroe Freeling, and then Philadelphia's Malachi Lemon. So they got an offensive lineman at 12. Back on the clock now, Anthony. Any guesses on what the Dolphins are going to do?
So once again, I just look at the teams that they're leaping, right? So right now, I believe it's Kansas City and Buffalo, right? They're leaping ahead of and trying to get to that spot. So immediately, my mind goes to wide receiver. Omar Cooper Jr. is still available. He's in attendance at the draft. They traded away Jalen Waddle to the Broncos, and now it'd be pretty funny to use that pick in a move up to now get your potentially new wide receiver 1 in Miami and Omar Cooper and give them some weapons to actually work with on that offense. So he makes a ton of sense. Jermod McCoy is the other one that he's still there somehow, and they have a need at corner. So either one of those two. I lean more towards Cooper, given that the teams that they jump.
There you go.
They've
We'll
got
see what Miami wants.
Draft picks out there.
They do.
Miami does.
Yeah.
With the trade.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I don't know if there was one more. I don't think that I could actually fit it in here. Maybe it goes second row, but the way that this thing is, maybe it just gets smaller and smaller. It's kind of crazy though. But still waiting on that pick. Couple super chats I'll get to you real quickly. David with a 5. Birds pick at 22 in round 2. Think safety or offensive tackle slips or tight end with Oscar Delp. Love the lemon pick. Love the show even more. You guys are rocking it. Go Birds.
There you go.
Thank you, David.
Finally, someone likes the lemon pick. I feel like there's a lot of negative Nancy's in the chat and on Twitter right now, but finally someone likes it. I absolutely love the lemon pick.
A lot of people are being sour about that pick.
Hey, whoa.
There's going to be so many of those. It's just, can't help
That's
yourself. It's going to be so many. Meso with a 5. Appreciate that one. Are there good offensive tackle picks in later rounds for Lane Johnson replacement, or you think we already have one developing in-house? First super chat, by the way. Go Birds. Thank you for that.
Appreciate that. Anthony, you answer that one there. There's obviously plenty of prospects that you can draft to replace Lane Johnson, but they're not going to be ready to replace Lane Johnson if they come in the later rounds immediately.
Yeah, so Cameron Williams is probably the in-house replacement if they do view him after the way he looked in Week 18, and they think he's really would have been a high-round pick this year. But just look at the names that they hosted on 30 visits at offensive tackle. There are so many to consider. I mean, Markel Bell, Jude Bowery, those kind of Isaiah World, those are all guys that are going to be either day 2 or day 3 to kind of keep an eye on as far as a potential Lane Johnson replacement down the line.
I like a Jude Bowery. It's a big fan of that from the 30 visits and the win over, but see what they could do. LaPanda Lord with the 2. When life gives you lemons, right? See, going with some of the comments. There's going to be lots of these. Very easy puns. Very easy for these, but in Perone with a 2, our first round pick said everything we need to know. It did. It said everything without saying anything.
Yes, it did. All right, we have our pick for the Dolphins, right? Yep, we have the Dolphin pick. Let me know whenever you're ready on this one.
All right, let's see.
Buffalo officially on the clock. Kansas City at 29 is sitting there ready to roll as well. Okay. With the 27th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Chris Johnson, cornerback. And there you go. They jump Buffalo for a cornerback. I don't know if we have Chris Johnson's highlights either. He was our number 39 overall prospect on ESPN's big board. Very fast is what I know about Chris Johnson there, Andy DeBona.
Yeah, I mean, Chris Johnson, you talk about Jermon McCoy, where there are the questions about like the medical red flags. When is he going to be able to play? Things like that. Chris Johnson's the complete opposite. He's a squeaky clean prospect at cornerback. Some people had him, if you just throw out like the rankings at a lot of the consensus, think about that, I thought Chris Johnson was straight up the best corner in this draft class. So Miami might be thinking, and they're building, like they're getting a steal at this point. He can play in man, he can play in zone. He's able to take the ball away. He's a great tackler. He's just not going to get penalized. Just a really good player, and had a pretty good athletic profile as well to go along with it, with a relative athletic score of 9.84, where some people were questioning like how fast would he run or things like that. He was able to prove all of his doubters wrong in that regard. And so now you have a great athletic upside along with nearly perfect tape, right? There's really not a lot of holes in his game. So to get him at this point for Miami, they probably red flagged Jermon McCoy, and that's why we're seeing him fall down the draft boards. And Chris Johnson was probably that next corner on their board.
Yeah, it's a good
point.
There
you go. So that
you see the fact that he is falling, Jermon McCoy is there's always one guy. There's maybe a couple guys every draft, but it's like, okay, you have a couple other guys selected over him now. Are those medical concerns?
The Will Johnson
probably
situation.
Exactly. Yeah, just keep on moving down further. But Buffalo on the clock, waiting for that selection here at 28 after the trade that they did with the Texans. Kelly, shout out to you with the 5, says Go Birds, hyped about Lemon, slot production, plus high football IQ and punt returner. I do hope Jalen will throw in the middle with a little prayer emoji. So hoping and praying that Jalen does that. But I love QB1. So making that clear.
Well, and we keep saying that this is a brand new offense. And there's all those reports, the ESPN article that Mick Manis one talking about Jalen Hurts this and that and wanting to, not do this and not do that. They have made an offense that is going to really showcase what Jalen Hurts can and cannot do over the middle. And what's funny is that he's been very effective over the middle. He doesn't like to do it that often, and yet you wonder if is it him? Is it play calling? We don't really know. they're going to throw over the middle this year, Anthony. There's no doubt about it. There wasn't much doubt whenever they got Sean Mannion, and now with a guy like Mekhi Lemon, you're not running a bunch of dig routes on the boundary side of the football field and throwing it to him, 15 times a game. They're going to be throwing it across the middle for sure.
Yeah, they're clearly ready to switch things up. They're investing in this new look offense with Sean Mannion, and it's just going to be up to Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni to kind of embrace it. And I think they're going to be able to do just fine. And I feel like now they're adding the weapons to really maximize the offense that Sean Mannion wants to implement in Philadelphia.
There you go.
Is really
all right, we are.
For. So,
yep.
Triple H with a 2. Cameron Williams lane replacement in 27. I think this was from earlier, but we kind of touched on the Cameron Williams comment, the Miles Hinton or Cameron Williams or insert whoever, but possibly. I mean, there's potential there. I would be surprised if they don't take someone later, as Anthony mentioned. Jude Bowery is a possibility that they brought in for a 30 visit. Evan Foley with a 10. Appreciate that one also. All these armchair generals thinking they know better than Howie are wild. He's the best GM in the league, literally building 2 different Super Bowl winning teams, even if Lemon is a lemon. Trust the process. Snuck in a pun even with the... See, it's going to every single time. People are going to do this. It makes sense, though. Good comment.
We have a trade here as Mike Vrabel's New England Patriots have traded with their division rival Buffalo Bills up to 28, and they've immediately sent the pick in. So we'll see exactly who this is, but they have just made a big trade up. Not that big of a trade, obviously 31 to 28, but they have somebody in mind, and they make a selection, which technically means Mike Vrabel is supposed to meet with the media again after he met with the media at 7:28 p.m. earlier this evening. So let's see what they're going to go ahead and do.
And the reported terms of the deal are New England sending the number 31 pick and the number 125 pick to the Bills for 28. So we'll see.
Just a simple
are they going to be the team to finally take Omar Cooper Jr.? But Keldrick Falk makes a lot of sense for kind of that Mike Vrabel defense, or just what New England player in general feels like. He makes a ton of sense with his positional versatility and his size, or maybe even Caleb Blamu, right? Because I know they vouch for Will Campbell, but they could always use help on the other side of the offensive tackle. And I think Lamu was one of the better players, especially if McCoy is red flagged by a lot of these teams. Lamu could be the top player on the board for a lot of these teams as well.
What would be very interesting is if they did take a wide receiver, as here comes the pick from the New England Patriots. Let's see if we get it. 28th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft. The New England Patriots are going to go ahead and select... Oh, I have it. Okay, sorry. It's Caleb Lamu. There you go. Anthony did call it the tackle out of Utah, and I beat the jingle there. But there goes another tackle in this one, the 6'6", 313-pounder out of Utah, Anthony.
Yeah, so just another player, like I mentioned earlier, because I thought he was going to be picked probably in the teens, but he slipped all the way to almost the end of the first round to the Patriots here. They moved up, got ahead of some other teams that could be looking for an offensive tackle, but Lomu's going to step in, and he has the athleticism. Some people think he needs to move inside to guard, or they question what he can really do at offensive tackle. But regardless, the Patriots can use some help on the offensive line. And now the value here for a player that a lot of people had as far as ranked before the draft in the teams, I know Spencer Fano got all the credit for that, all the attention along that Utah offensive line. He was holding down the other side, and now he lands in the first round as well.
There you go. 2 first-round offensive linemen for Utah. The Utes making some good ones out there as Lamu is off the board at 28, and that brings up the Kansas City Chiefs, who are back in here. They have 2 first-round draft picks, and they're fresh off of taking Mansour Delane at 6 after their trade up way earlier on in this draft, and now with 4 picks left in this year. Sorry, 3 picks left. 4. Sorry, make sure I have my numbers right here. Kansas City has immediately sent the pick in, by the way. So we have the KC pick being in. We will look to see if we know who it is. But the NFL draft is really speeding up here as we approach the 11 p.m. hour on the East Coast. Who is KC going to go ahead and
super chats quickly as we're waiting on those? Zachary with the 5. Lemon pick is solid. Looks like Philly's going to be running lots of double slants.
Yep, I think so.
The middle.
It's better than double hitches.
It's much better than
That's
double
much
hitches.
Better.
Anything is better than that. Teach one with a 5, building on Smitty instead of AJ. Lemon is a great addition. See, look, there's some positivity here. There's a decent amount.
There's some positivity.
Guy from Jeremy with a 5. Lemon is Amon-Ra St. Brown-like, plays bigger than his size, sneaky fast, football speed. So thank you, AJ. When life hands you lemons, be gone.
There you go.
All
there
right.
you go. We have
the
Chief pick, by the way. Chief pick is in.
Okay, I'll get back to these super chats here once we put this one in. Let's see, get this.
Just real quick while we have this little window.
Yep.
Jimmy Kemsky of the Philly Voice just noted that on NFL Network, the NFL Network broadcast just said that Mekhi Lemon was on the phone with the Steelers, who were going to select him at pick 21 when the Eagles traded up to 20 to get him.
Wow.
No way.
Wow.
That's how much they
pretty
needed him or
crazy.
wanted him.
That's how badly they wanted him. Wow. Hence giving up 2 fourth-round draft picks. Okay, with the 29th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Kansas City Chiefs select Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson. And there we go. We have our second defensive tackle officially off the board. 6'2", 315 pounds. Very quick. I had him compared to Grady Jarrett, right? He lacks the ideal height for an interior defensive lineman in terms of batting balls. He can lose the vision of the football, the passer a little bit too, but he has a very impressive lower body anchor, very few injuries, if any, at Clemson, and a former top 5 recruit nationally who could go on anywhere chose the Tigers, Anthony.
Yeah, once again, Peter Woods, another player with like a lot of the defensive players in this class, in my opinion. Just people kind of picked apart maybe the only weakness in their profile a little bit too much, where with Peter Woods, he does have shorter arms, right? He's 6'2.5", almost 300 pounds, but his 31.25-inch arms are 4th percentile at the position. So once again, a player with shorter arms, but I don't think the Chiefs will mind that with the way that he's able to be a game wrecker at times, and now you're adding him to a defensive line that already features Chris Jones along the interior, right? So you bring in a Peter Woods, let him learn from Chris Jones while also working alongside him. I think that's a good fit, and I'm sure Steve Spagnuolo was really happy about landing Peter Woods at this point in the draft.
And you get a two-way player, you know? I mean, we're talking about a guy who has, eight carries for 15 yards, 2 touchdowns,
a couple
like
of those
that.
in this year's class.
He's
it's
been,
kind of
there
weird.
you go.
You know, you never know. Throw him in there. They don't like to use the quarterback sneak with Mahomes, so a little short-yarded situation. Probably not.
Another trade. The Jets
What is it?
are trading with the 49ers. So they're
Oh,
back to the
wow.
first round.
Dang, the
The
49ers
Jets
What
are
are the
trading-
Jets doing?
The Jets are trading 33, which is the first pick tomorrow, and I'm sorry, well, I'll start here. 33 and 179 for 30. So immediately before the draft, everybody was projecting Omar Cooper to the Jets at 16.
Yes.
Now you get all the way to 30. Omar Cooper is still sitting in that green room, unfortunately.
It feels
This
like it.
screams like
You said 33,
the
and I'm
perfect
sorry,
landing spot.
what was it?
33, I'm sorry, and the 179, I believe it was.
Okay.
I'll double check right now. Sorry, my phone's probably overheating with how much I'm looking at checking these alerts right now. Yes, 33 and 179 for 30.
Okay.
Sweet.
There it is.
Try
All right,
the
so
right
that
one.
is going to put the Jets back on the clock here as they took the second overall pick in David Bailey with an edge rusher, and now you wonder if they're going to get Geno Smith, a weapon to pair with Garrett Wilson. Is it Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana? Let's see.
And Kenyon Sadiq. Now suddenly they would have a ton of options
Sadiq as
on
well.
offense.
That's right.
Dang,
That's right.
look at there,
3
just-
first-round draft
just like
picks.
that.
Pretty crazy.
It would be. Keller with the 10. What are your expectations for Makuba this season? Well, he was healthy, by the way. We saw some clips of him that was shared recently. So
Seems that way.
healthy. I mean, I think he's going to start. I think they have high expectations for him. He was doing fairly well before the injury, so I don't see that as being like a glaring hole or issue or whatnot. You need the other safety spot probably to have somebody else, but not for Makuba.
Yeah, I think with Makuba, you're just hoping that he's a little bit less reckless, right? Because you saw it sometimes. But that just comes with playing the position, right? That's not necessarily a knock on him. He was a younger safety that was in the slot sometimes at Texas. He wasn't always playing so far off the ball like he was in Philadelphia. So that'll come with time. I think he'll clean his game up. And he was trending in the right direction before he suffered the injury. So I'm excited to see him in year 2.
There we go. Tyler with a 5 also. Love the videos, guys. Thank you for that, Tyler. Do you think we can realistically get a first for AJ? I feel like the Pats wouldn't give us that. Go Birds.
I think that they're going to have to now. I have a feeling you're going to get a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, I would be absolutely
sure.
shocked if it wasn't a first-round pick. It's just now it just seems like it's a matter of, is it 2027? Is it 2028? Howie Roseman has shown that he doesn't mind waiting out a pick and for 2-3 years. Just look at the Hassan Reddick deal and what he did with the Jets and how that ended up kind of benefiting them. They'll finally make that pick this year, I believe. So they're gonna have options. It's just I think they're gonna get a first-round pick. It's the thing is, do they get more? What else do they get on top of that first-round pick? Is it Kayshon Boutte? Is it a different player? Is it more picks? So we'll see what happens after June 1st.
Yeah, typically.
All right, the
wins
Jets pick-
for the long term.
Sorry, I was gonna say the
Yeah,
Jets pick is officially in. Do we know who it is yet? Do
yeah,
we have the Jets pick yet?
that's what I said.
Okay, so it is. It is. Yeah. All right, we have the Jets pick.
Wait for the
We're
jingle.
ready to roll on that one.
That just seemed so obvious considering everything leading up to the draft.
Yeah.
With the 30th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the New York Jets select Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver out of Indiana. I love him. I mean, another yak specialist here. Thick, powerful, lower body breaks a lot of tackles. Almost like a running back when the ball is in his hands. I see a lot of DJ Moore in him. Also extremely reliable. This was Mendoza's security blanket, critical for third downs. And now, Anthony, you pair him with the New York Jets passing attack that features, we just saw Kenyon Sadiq, obviously Garrett Wilson. They have some weapons there, and we'll just see if their quarterback can get to the football.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess it's going to be Geno Smith right now looking, but who knows if they add somebody on day 2 or day 3. But it's hard to be upset if you're a Jets fan, and shout out to my guy Stu. But I mean, you look at this haul they've brought in, right? David Bailey, easily the top edge rusher in this draft, and now you add Kenyon Sadiq and Omar Cooper at 2 different spots that most people didn't think they'd be available, with Sadiq at 16 and now Cooper all the way at 30. So this is a great haul for the Jets so far for an offense that really, really lacked weapons, just couldn't move the ball last year. Whoever their quarterback is, there's no question now about the weapons that they have to work with in that New York Jets offense.
There you go. All right, so we are now...
Can Geno do it?
There you go.
Can he lead this squad?
Well, he's apparently going to lead him to the promised land, according to Aaron Glenn.
That's what they say. That's what I've heard. You know, it's we've heard some other proclamations from Aaron Glenn that didn't necessarily turn out, but maybe this time. Who knows?
All right, Jets pick is just being announced right now on ESPN. Obviously, we know that it's a Omar Cooper Jr. That puts the Buffalo Bills back on the clock, and then Seattle, and then we're done. I mean, this has been a sprint to the finish. I feel like Philadelphia just took Mekhi Lemon at 20, and now we're sitting here at 30. 2 very different feelings in New York tonight. I think a lot of Giant fans can't believe that they passed up on Caleb Downs to take the offensive tackle. And yet the Jet fans seem pretty darn pumped, although the Jets have had good drafts in the past and not been able to make a much difference from them. So we'll see here. Buffalo back on the clock after making a trade back earlier with I believe it was the Dolphins here. Let's see.
They only have 2 of their original picks, as you see that on your screen.
Interesting.
That's pretty fascinating. The trades with the Jets in the past, the Texans, the Bears, the Giants, the Patriots, obviously, for that other one. So don't like staying put, that's for sure. Shout out to Jim with 10.
Go ahead.
Real quickly, sorry. Great job, Ben, as usual. Thank you all for your tireless efforts. Wish AJ was staying, but since he's not, I love the Lemon pick. Looking forward to seeing the rest of the draft and how it plays out. Go Birds. Thank you for
There you
that.
go.
Big time.
We appreciate that.
But what I was going to say is, you said with Buffalo on the clock again, right? I believe. So I feel like every time so far, I've said that Keldrick Falk was going to be their pick, and because it seems like they have a need on the edge.
True, yeah.
I've seen some players walk away this year, but it seems like, are they just moving back and seeing, like, is he really going to still be there? Is he really still going to be there? So we'll see if they finally stick and pick him there, or if they go in a different direction that I might not be expecting.
And they're just like, hey, let's just go ahead and grab him. And they got other draft capital for it if they do. So Tim with a 5, safe to say, drafting Lemon, we're finally going to be using using the middle of the field. I would say so, as we kind of commented earlier. But yeah, that's kind of a given with that type of talent and ability. Loggy with a 2, also excited for the Lemon pick. So there you go. There's another one. Also from Jeremy with a 10. AJ Brown, you've been quite the bitter Betty, but man, this lemonade gonna be sweet. Hope we see you in the Super Bowl and make you even more bitter. But hey, I guess Vrabel's side chick can make you some pasta. Wow, that
there
one
you
went
go.
all
Jeez.
over the place.
Got it all.
Real quick,
Jeremy.
we've got another trade.
Oh, looky there. What do you
is it?
know?
The Titans. The Bills are dropping back again.
Whoa.
The Titans are trading up to
Who
31.
are the Titans taking?
No terms on the deal just yet, but the report is, yes, it is. Terms just came out. The Titans are trading 35, 66, and 101. This is one of those deals to the Bills for 31, 69, and 165. So a jump up for the Bills,
scoot up
in the first round, and then dropping back.
What were the other 2 for the Bills? The other 2 ones?
The Titans are trading 35, 66, 101.
Yep.
The Bills are trading 31, 69, 165.
Okay, got it. All right, I'm making sure. Sweet.
Okay, so We'll see what Tennessee
So
wants
if you're
to
a
go
visual
ahead
learner,
and
then
do
there you go.
here.
It's on your screen.
There you go. It's on your screen. I love it. I love it.
I'm just curious
Love it. Yeah.
Are they the
interesting.
Keldrick Falk team? Finally,
They could
for,
be.
Possibly, yeah.
Give Robert
they
Saleh
could
a
be.
defensive player to work, or Caden McDonald. I don't know what they're going to do. Pair him with Jeffrey Simmons. That'd be kind of crazy, but it feels like they go defense here for Robert Saleh and give him something to work with after taking Carnell Tate. But kind of
Wouldn't
like
mind
how
that.
we did the favor for Vic Fangio with Jahad Campbell last year.
Yeah.
Oh,
and his reaction to Ham Solo with a
I'm
5
sending-
as we're about to get this thing in. Don't want to be negative, but what's going to happen to the 50-50 balls? Lemon is 5'11". Well, it's a different offense.
There aren't going to be 50-50 balls.
Smitty's
Nope.
winning. If you have any, it's going to go to Smitty, I guess. But yeah, it's a different offense. Zach with the 2 also. Pats will trade Lomu and a 3rd for AJ June 1st. Wow. Okay, so trading both of those is the prediction. And,
Real quick, before we get to this next pick that's in,
yes,
Mekhi Lemon is speaking with the media now. He did tell reporters, this is a big thing from my 30-visit narrative. It wasn't reported, but he did have a 30 visit with the Eagles.
Okay.
like
there you
they
go.
Kept it under wraps.
There you go. Yep.
Last
They
year,
kept
the
it
Eagles
under
didn't
wraps.
pick any players that visited the complex. They start this year with one that did.
See, they just
Okay.
knew that you're tracking it, so they're like, "Look, we may pick you, but
Can't
we
let that
can't
one
put it
get
out
out."
there because this Anthony DeBona guy is just going to share it, and then all of a sudden, every other team's going to take you." So, looky there. All right, we got.
All
This
right,
pick,
we have the Titan pick. Yep. Okay, with the 31st pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Tennessee Titans select Keldrick Falk. There he is, pass rusher out of Auburn. And so he does sneak into round 1, Anthony. We've been waiting. Long, powerful, really good edge setter. I think he has that NFL frame a lot of teams are looking for. The question is the bend around the edge. Is he going to get you double-digit sacks in year 1? I'm not sure. But the highest-rated recruit in Auburn's 2023 class did live up to the hype and start as a true freshman.
Yeah, I mean, Keldrick Falk, I think he was like the number 2 or 3 player for Fran Duffy, who I respect a ton. And you just look at the size profile. I mean, almost 6'6", 276 pounds, lined up all over the Auburn defensive front. And that's probably what he'll do in Robert Saleh's defense too. I don't think he's just a guy that you're going to stick out on the edge. I feel like you take advantage of his length and all his athleticism and the tools that he has, and you can kind of move him all around, especially with a guy like Jeffrey Simmons already on their defensive front. So Tennessee's going to be able to get some pressure on the quarterback, and Falk is also going to be a great run defender from day 1 too. So where a lot of these younger guys coming out of college, the question with like a David Bailey is, can they defend the run, or how consistently can they defend the run? That's not going to be a problem with Keldrick Falk. It's like he has a really good floor as a run defender. It's just how much better can he get as a pass rusher as well?
There you go. Yep. So Falk goes 31, Josh, and we got one more left here before round 1 is over.
There we go. You love it too with the potential. I mean, he turns 21 in September. So that's a
crazy,
pretty good runway for a prospect like that at Falk.
He might hit a growth spurt. He might pull a Victor Wembanyama and be
you never
6'8"
know.
by the time this is all done.
It's like, what happened? We should have drafted this guy. Dave with a 20 bomb. Been a sub since Thomas was with Locked On Team. Maybe other one, but I think we know
other
which
one, but sure.
My baby bro is a safety from SMU. Really, Ahmad Moses, first team All ACC, fourth team All American. Let's go. Hoping he ends up on the Eagles, whether that's a late round pick or UDFA. Go Birds. Well, thank you for that, Dave.
There you go.
Yeah. Little insider info.
We'll see.
That'd be.
We'll see what happens.
Matt with a 10 bomb as well says, "Night boys, great show as always. You guys are the goats. Go Birds. Go Birds."
Appreciate it. We're almost done.
You,
we're almost done. 11 p.m. The clock's about to strike, and the Seattle Seahawks are on the clock here to round out round 1. Thank goodness they bumped the times up. Can I just say, I mean, this felt way more efficient than previous drafts. And I know we have 2 rounds tomorrow, which will be longer. They go earlier, start at 7, but I feel like first rounds in previous years have taken hours to get through, and this one was fast, fun, exciting. It was great.
This is the way to do it. I mean, you've researched for months and months. I mean, really longer than that, but since the season ended, for forever on these guys. And it's like, do we really need 10 minutes? 8 minutes is still plenty of time. Get your.
We could even bump it down even more.
Your calls. You really could, right? Because we're all doing fantasy drafts with a minute timer, right? I mean, we could do that. You probably put them on the clock. Say, hey, you got 1 minute. Make your selection.
Oh my God! Imagine the alerts for trades and stuff like that. With that, that's honestly the main reason why this clock is takes so long, is because both teams need to separately call in these trades whenever they're made, and if one thing is off, the trade doesn't go through. Now they both have to call again. There's so much more behind the scenes that has to go into it. It's easy to follow from here, getting the alerts on your phone and things like that, but it's kind of a tedious process behind the scenes for these teams.
And then you have sometimes the teams that forget to call it in, right? Or inaccurately call it in. They're like, oh, yeah. We're going with this one. It's like, wait, what? Hang on. Supreme Rich with a 2. Appreciate that one. Says, maybe Howie didn't call me tonight. I think How didn't call me tonight. I assume that's Howie. So, sorry about that.
Okay, we have the pick, by the way, for the Seattle Seahawks. Do we have it? Yeah, we do. Okay, we have it. Let me know when you're ready. We can wrap this one up with the final pick.
Interesting.
The Super Bowl champions. Very interesting. I don't think we have a highlight for this guy.
We do not. No.
Okay.
Nope.
There you go. A little bit of a reach here. With the 32nd pick in the 2026 NFL Draft, the Seattle Seahawks select Jadarian Price, running back out of Notre Dame. And so they get their running back replacement, obviously, for Kenneth Walker, who's in Kansas City, Anthony, but another Notre Dame running back squeaks into round 1, and it's not the one that anybody talked about going into this year's draft.
Yeah, this probably seems like an obscure pick, but there were some mock drafts leading up to the event that had the Seahawks taking Jadarian Price at this exact point. There were a lot of people that thought he was the second best running back in this draft class. I know it's weird because it's like you don't usually see 2 running backs in the first round nowadays, especially 2 running backs from the same exact school, right? Considering how much of a workhorse Jeremiyah Love but they lost Kenneth Walker. Charbonnet is dealing with an injury, so there's some questions in that backfield now, and they obviously are a team that wants to be predicated on running the ball and kind of getting the passing game going off of that. But Price, there's so many intriguing kind of parts of his game, and they not a ton of usage, right? But you can kind of take advantage of that with the unknown. But really, most of the threat, it's like a pass catch, which is probably what they kind of find enticing, where he has that complete skill set. So I think that the mix of him being able to be both an effective runner while opening up their passing game as well is probably what Seattle found enticing here at 32.
Well,
there you
we'll
go.
see. I mean, a first-round running back. It makes sense, like you say, with the mock drafts and everything else, but little surprising at 32. You know, maybe it works out for him. You get the value on running backs changed over the last couple of years. We'll just say that. I don't think this would have happened like 2-3 years ago. But I know that offense used quite a bit. They need the replacement, obviously, for Kenneth Walker. Trenton with a 2, by the way. F. Vrabel and Dirty Diana. Bye AJ. Go Birds.
There you go.
All right. Got that one in. Anthony with the 1 as well. I didn't see a comment. We appreciate the support, though. And John with a 20 bomb. Appreciate that. Thank you, brother. Says,
whoa.
Great job, fellas. Go Birds. We appreciate that.
We really appreciate that. We did it. How about that? There's a lot to digest.
Not too bad.
And we're gonna have reactions tomorrow, and everyone's gonna have their ideas the first round. There's a lot going on in this first round. A very interesting first round, I would say. A lot of no player trades yet, which tomorrow could be the day. Maybe tomorrow during the day, we'll see. But I think overall, quite the fun overall round 1, guys.
That was a blast.
The Ty Simpson pick was probably the biggest shocker, but there were some other reaches or perceived reaches from the outside looking in here, like in the 20s with Thielen Rutledge, Chris Johnson, but nothing too shocking outside of the Ty Simpson pick, where
I think
a lot of people came around saying he was going to be a first-round pick. It's just nobody thought it was going to be that high to the Rams.
That's true. Got a 5 from Tyler here. Shout out Tyler. What's up? Says Mekhi Lemon was on the, as we were talking about a second ago and sharing, but yes, Mekhi Lemon was on the phone with the Steelers when the Eagles traded up to take him. So a little
that's crazy.
Interesting for Howie and being like, yep, you know what? I got to go get my guy. Go get him at that point. Tells us everything that we need to know, obviously. But got one here from Tenoshi with the 1,000. I think that's the yen, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the Y with the, I believe? What's the chances of us getting EMW at 22 in round 2?
At 22 in round 2?
I think it's just the second
in round 2. We'll say in round 2.
Just
sure.
22 picks in, or yeah.
You got to trade up to get him for sure tomorrow, for sure. Right.
I do have the extra 3rd-round pick to kind of maybe make that kind of Cooper DeJean
it's not
move
impossible
up again. If he falls into that 40 range or so, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But they have the ammo to move up. They traded away 2 4th-round picks to move up from Lemon already. So maybe we see them move down from that Jets pick and then kind of gain some ammo there. So Howie Roseman's going to be busy regardless.
There you go.
Bet he will. There's your recap. Most of it can fit in the screen, but first round selections. That is it. Like we said, couple surprises, little reach here and there, but as you see for every draft, I don't know that it was necessarily yes, there were trades late, like the trade backs, it's like, Buffalo keeps going, 49ers and whatnot. It wasn't as many trades or maybe bigger trades as I was
they always overhype
expecting,
that. They always
that's
overhype
true.
that.
That's true, they do. But
this is going to be the most traded draft ever, and then this happens, and teams stay put. That's how it goes.
There's a lot of little leaps like the Eagles did last year, where it's just jumping over one team or jumping so a team can't jump them. So still a very entertaining first night.
Definitely was. I enjoyed it, guys. That was a blast.
And we're back tomorrow night.
Run it back tomorrow.
Do it
all
there
again. I appreciate you guys for having me on, welcoming me. Hopefully everybody enjoyed what I was able to bring. I appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity. It means a lot.
Of course. We'll see you tomorrow. Ready to roll. And Steve, we need you more than ever tomorrow because we got all these, a lot of us know first rounders. You get into the third round and it's like, who is this guy? It's going to be a lot of fun.
Wondering, scouting reports and everything else. Yeah.
I've got the notebook ready. Don't worry. I'm trusting.
There you go.
Russ Nee, welcome to the Let's Run It tier with the membership. Shout out to you for that. And the 10 Bomb as well for the support. Didn't see a comment, but got the super chat. So as Thomas and Anthony were saying as well, again, we'll be live tomorrow. What is it? 7 p.m. Eastern? Yes, earlier. Yep, 7 p.m. Eastern for the stream. Yep. So second and third round. Come hang out. Make sure to like and subscribe, set the notifications, because sometimes YouTube's crazy. Maybe even set a little reminder in case you don't get that. But we will. Every single pick. See what the Eagles do. Are they going to trade up, get some other draft capital maybe, or a safety, offensive lineman, tight end? Who knows? Who knows what they'll draft, but it's fun as always.
We'll see.
So
we'll see.
We will see you guys. Appreciate it. More recaps and everything else as well in the morning on top of the stream. So, till next time. Go Birds.
Go Birds.
Birds.